Anyways,
It wasn't funny.
okay, heard. Well, listen, the majority of historians, they agree that Paul's undisputed letters,
Hmm.
Josephus and Tacitus, like these are the pieces of evidence that are used
For
in order
Paul?
to conclude, huh?
For Paul?
Yeah, his seven
Tacitus and
letters.
Josephus do not mention Paul. Or are you just saying like you're listing three things that don't have
Yeah,
anything to
yeah.
do with each other? Okay, gotcha.
No, I'm saying that these three things are pieces of evidence that
Hmm.
historians use to infer that Jesus existed.
Okay, so considering the fact that Paul's letters don't get written until the 2nd century, how is that good evidence?
Right. So I'm asking what methodology you're using to conclude differently to say that they're second century writings.
The first iterations of them are known to be published by Marcion in 144. It's admitted by Christians back then,
Okay, which Christians?
like Tertullian.
Tertullian in against Marcion?
Mm-hmm.
The five
He
the
actually
five
says he has
books?
to take Paul's existence on faith, and the reason he does so is because quote has his own edits of Paul's letters. Also, I'd like to point out that he said if Paul uh, or if I didn't have Paul's letters or my own edits of Paul's letters, I would assume that Marcion invented or Marcion discovered Galatians, which is considered to be the like foundational kind of text or the first text from Paul. Um, like that's it's considered to be like the earliest one from him.
Right, but Tertullian argued that Marcion he
Yeah, I
edited,
know.
not that he invented it.
I'm aware. Yeah, but
Okay,
again,
so
the earliest iterations of Paul's letters are first published in 144. We do not have any evidence whatsoever of Paul being mentioned, Paul's letters being quoted, or even Paul being a first name for anybody prior to 144.
what about First Clement?
What about it?
What do you date it to?
About the 150s, which is when Shepherd of Hermas's author says that he tasked Clement with delivering a letter for him. Also, it
That
doesn't
that
mention Clement in the whole text of First Clement. So how did you determine that it was even written by Clement, let alone written in the 1st century?
w- well, Tertullian and Irenaeus, they would say that it was written by First Clement.
First Clement isn't a person, Clement
I,
is.
yeah, that's what I meant.
But again, there's no text that even mentions First Clement until 180. So you think there was a letter that was written in 95 that they just held on to for 85 years?
There's kind of an intellectual leap here, right?
Uh
You're
huh.
claiming the latest possible date that a historian
No,
would claim.
no,
The early date is
no.
95
In
AD.
fact, in fact, well, not the early date. Do you know why they
Yeah,
even put 95?
tell me.
It's explicitly because of the fact that it opens up by saying recent tragedies and hindrances that have befallen us. That is it. That's 100% of
Right.
the reason why. And there's no
It's
connection to what that is or to when that is or to who has caused these problems. And so scholars just say, oh, that must be a connection between the Christians and the persecutions that they received at the hands of Domitian in the 90s. But then later on, people realized, like in the 1900s, there were multiple scholars that debunked that entire claim, showing that Domitian had nothing to do with persecution of Christians. He just persecuted the Jewish people, never actually even mentioned Christians. So, yeah, that's just a later Christian claim. So that, yeah, it doesn't have any legs. Even if it did mention Domitian, it's still wrong. And it doesn't mention Domitian. It also doesn't mention Clement. So the fact that we don't have anything writing about it until 180 is pretty bad. So just randomly pulling out of their ass 95, these scholars try to make it seem as if there is somebody who was before Marcion talking about him when there is absolutely no way to say that. In fact, modern scholars like M. David Litva place the dating of First Clement as well as the writings of Ignatius anywhere from about 150 to 170.
okay. Well, do you agree that Marcion was excommunicated from the church?
No.
Okay. So Tertullian, Epiphanius, as well as Irenaeus,
Mm-hmm.
all are just, they say he's a heretic,
Okay.
and somehow that's not sufficient proof that Marcion wouldn't write Paul's letters. Because Marcion, if he doesn't agree with the theology of the writings of Paul, why would he write them?
I want you to think about what you just said. Think about that for a second. What have I said clearly prior to our conversation today? Like on, if you've been watching or on our conversation Friday, what have I said about the letters of Paul and their relation to Marcion?
I mean, you're
I
claiming.
want you to explain to me what you know about my argument in regards to Paul's letters and their relationship to Marcion.
I believe that I've heard you claim that Marcion is he invented Paul's letters. That he is the one
Okay.
who's written Paul's
Okay,
letters.
and then what happens to Paul's letters? And in fact, I actually let you in on what happens to them by explaining what Tertullian said. So, what happens to Paul's letters after Marcion writes them and publishes them in 144?
There's further editings and
Yes,
revisions.
there we go. There are things that are added to them. The earliest iterations do not include the parts that you feel like are just absolutely against his theology because he didn't write that. He didn't write that. His students didn't write that. That is not something that is added in there at the time of the first publication in 144. That's the problem.
R- Right. So here is where I believe your methodology is made clear.
Oh,
Right. You'll make a claim like this. You'll make a claim that Romans has, three sections and authors, right?
hmm
And you'll suggest that this is because of, stylometry and
I
all of
haven't
these
said
things,
that
right?
at all yet.
Not yet, but I know this is a position.
Okay.
I've watched your
All right.
debates.
Well, then I don't
I
know why
understand.
you're arguing against a straw man because you knew better. In
W-
fact,
Well,
you knew better, so I don't know why you made the point that Marcion would not have written something that goes against Marcion. Not only is that duh, but also on top of that, I don't say that. And so, if you're familiar with my argument, you're familiar with like what my book says and stuff like that, then I don't know why you would make such a stupid argument. So
the argument is
maybe what you should do is probably go back to the drawing board because this argument isn't getting you anywhere.
it's not. Listen,
Exactly.
okay.
It's not. It's exactly what I told you. It's not getting anywhere. And then you repeated it. So, do you have any other way to place Paul prior to 144?
Well, instead of just criticizing evidence, how about you provide positive evidence? What positive
Yeah,
evidence do you use to
we
come
have
to the
Marcion. We
conclusion?
have Marcion, and literally all the people who you named were aware that Marcion published these letters in 144. Do you have any indication of or any evidence of them being published prior to 144? The people you named, as well as people who were alive at the same time as him, talk about him publishing the Apostolicon, which would be, the earliest iterations of Paul's letters. I mean, it is incredibly obvious that he published them in 144. Even his enemies talk about how he published them in 144. So, where's your evidence that anybody wrote these things prior to 144?
Well, here's the deal. You just criticize evidence. That's what you do.
What
And
evidence have you
ultimately,
presented that they were written prior to 144?
I mean, I just
I'm not
presented
criticizing
evidence
any
and you
evidence if you're not
criticized it.
presenting it.
Well,
Are you
first
saying like
Clement,
Clement? Okay, well, where's your evidence
yeah.
that Clement wrote in the first century?
Where's your evidence that he wrote in the second century?
The fact that Shepherd of Hermas, which was written by the brother of Pope Pius, according to your religion's own Muratorian canon there in the late second century, the author says that he tasked Clement with delivering a letter for him in the middle of the second century. So very clearly, Clement was not doing anything at the end of the first.
Okay, that's fine.
So
Can we?
your own text tell me that Clement is active in the middle of the second century. If you disregard them, okay, we're going to go ahead and disregard them. So the first time that you get anything that even says Clement wrote those things, because it's not even mentioned in First Clement, is in 180. Okay, by somebody, by the way, who thinks that Jesus lived to be 50, so very clearly doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. This is Irenaeus. He makes an argument against it. So it's pretty clear that First Clement, you don't have any evidence to suggest that that was actually prior to 144. So even if it mentions Paul, even if it quotes directly from Corinthians, who cares? You can't date it prior to 144. So if we're just going to make up things or just mention certain texts that we have no idea where it came from or something like that, fine. I can pull shit out of my ass too if you want to. But the earliest known text, the earliest known version of Paul's letters, is published in roughly 144 by Marcion. If you have anything prior to that, please present the evidence and support it. I can support that 144 claim for Marcion. Can you do the same for literally anything else that you've suggested?
I mean, listen, man. I get what you're doing, and
I'm
it's
using
totally fine.
evidence. Yeah, it's kind of how you're supposed to do it whenever you take a look at history and determine whether or not a text was written at a certain time or written by a certain person or if a person even existed. That's how you do it.
Well, what you're
That's
doing
how
is
you do it.
you're acting as though this is not a controversial and a radical idea that you have. Like
Okay,
this is
It
This
is
is
a
a radical
radical
idea.
idea to ask for evidence. See, here's the problem.
No,
Here's the
it's a
problem.
radical
Man,
idea to no, dude.
here's the
Listen, it's a
problem. The
radical.
problem with Christians and the problem with historicists, people who believe that Jesus actually existed, or even Paul historicists, is the fact that they are content with the fact that the current scholarly consensus or the most popular opinion is that these characters existed. And they're content with things like the dating of First Clement. They don't know why it's dated there. They've never actually looked into it, which is why you couldn't tell me why it was dated in 95. And once I pointed it out, you weren't able to refute it or actually like connect it to 95 in any way because you know that's bullshit and it falls all apart.
I
There's no
don't.
mention.
There's a
Okay.
reason that
So why?
historians.
Okay. Yes. And I told you the reason. Do you have
Yes.
any explanation as to how recent tragedies and hindrances which have befallen us is explicitly a direct reference to
No, I
persecution
agree.
under Domitian?
I agree. With your
Yeah.
view that
In
that
other
is
words,
why.
it's a house of cards. That's my point. You base your assumption that Jesus and Paul existed off of shitty evidence that you've never actually looked into and will admit when actually pressured that it's not good evidence. There
No,
is no good
I
evidence
didn't
to suggest
admit
that
that it's
Clement is
not
written in
good evidence.
95, but Clement is your evidence that Paul was writing prior to 144.
It's not just my evidence. You are
Okay.
clinging to the radical
What else?
fringe position.
I don't care
Okay,
about how
let's talk
fringe
about.
it is. I care about
Okay,
the evidence that is
sure.
presented.
So
Your evidence
let's
for
talk.
something that is not fringe is shitty, while the evidence for something that is fringe is really good. You can't beat this fringe thing. If it's so fringe and so bad because it is, then why don't you have better evidence? Why can't you support the idea that Clement is actually written in 95? Because what you're believing, while it might be common, is still fucking stupid. I
Okay,
get
so
the idea. Like, there's 20 million people on this planet who think that Joseph Smith actually met an angel and that Joseph Smith translated a dumb language like Reformed Egyptian into English, King James style version. Oh, thank you very much. Which doesn't make any sense. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But yet, at the same time, you think you think that's dumb, but there's 20 million people who believe it. Okay, a lot of people believe some stupid things. You disagree with most of the people who have a faith on this planet. You think that that's stupid. You think it. Yes or no? Do you think it's stupid to think that Muhammad was the last prophet and was visited by Gabriel? Do you think that's stupid?
no, I think
You think it's
Islam makes.
you think
I,
Islam
I
makes sense?
no, I didn't say that.
Okay,
I'm
so well,
saying I'm
did it
saying it's
happen
a
or did it not happen?
I'm
Did
saying it's
Gabriel meet Muhammad?
deceiving. It deceives people. I don't think
Okay,
people are
cool,
stupid.
cool.
I think that they can be deceived.
Okay, well then maybe I shouldn't say that you believe in something stupid. Maybe I should just say that you've been deceived. You've been deceived by people who are writing a bunch of dumb claims, and when you actually look into it, you see that you can't actually back it up. There's no
Okay,
supporting evidence for it.
we're
You've been deceived.
okay. We're talking about evidence, right?
Okay, cool. Please provide
Okay,
evidence that Clement wrote in 95.
really quick. I've heard you
Provide
say
evidence
that
that
you.
Clement was writing in 95, or admit that he wasn't, or admit that you don't know when he was writing.
No, you had claimed that the
Either
majority of
present evidence
historians
that
that
Clement
came.
was writing in 95, or say, I don't know when he was writing. One or the
Okay,
other.
again, the recent tragedies that befall upon
Uh-huh.
us, that's what the historians
Okay, and
tie to
that
the
couldn't be
emperor
something in the
from that
second
time
century?
frame. What?
That couldn't be anything in the second century?
I'm not saying that.
Okay, sweet. So please provide evidence that it was explicitly 95, or say, I don't know when he was writing.
I can't explicitly date it to
Okay,
95,
then
and you
that's
can't
perfectly fine. Just
explicitly
say,
date it
I
to
don't
mid
know when he was
second
writing.
century.
That's fine. I'll accept you saying, I don't know. I don't know when he
Okay,
was writing.
fine.
Just say it.
Fine. I don't know the exact year he was writing.
Okay,
Neither
that's
do
fine.
you.
So I'm going to set it to the side, and you
Okay,
can't
cool.
use it as argument, and I can't use
Sure.
it as an argument. It's gone.
Sure.
So what
Sure.
other reasons do you have Paul writing prior to 144?
Okay, again, I need to talk about evidence
So
here
what other
because you're
reasons do
asking
you
for
have?
evidence.
Sure. What other evidence do you have for Paul writing prior to 144?
Well, what evidence do you need in order to
Well,
believe
the
in a
thing that you
historical figure?
suggested, we just literally set to the side. So what else do you have?
Right. Okay. You have said in the past that you need to see contemporary writings, remains, clothing, coins, these types of things. Yes.
For what?
What evidence are you looking for to have the validity of Paul before second century?
I would like to see any mention of Paul prior to 144. And that would show that very clearly Marcion and his students did not come up with it.
Okay, so then
So
what
show me
other
any
first cen-
mention of Paul prior to 144 that is confirmed to
well,
be before 144. Because I mean I can just make something up too, but I want you to give me anything that mentions Paul prior to 144, and I want you to show me how you know it was.
but the thing is that you
That's
need to
all you
show
need to
me
do.
what. Just listen,
That's
dude.
all you
What
need to
other?
do.
Hey, bros, just let
I
me
will
make this
move on to the
final
next
point.
person if you can't do this, because your entire argument for Jesus was predicated on three things. It was Paul's writings. It was, it was the historical or the scholarly consensus on Paul's writings, and then it was Tacitus, and then it was Josephus. We're tackling the first thing, and it seems like you can't even really get through that. So
I'm
your
claiming that your
evidence for Paul,
methodology is incorrect, my guy.
I claimed that Paul's writings come out in 144 because we know that there is at least an iteration that comes out in 144. I want you to show that we have any evidence of Paul prior to 144, and then show me
I'm
how you got
saying
there.
that if your methodology is incorrect,
Sweet.
then no evidence would suffice. And
No,
I'm trying
my
to get to your
my
methodology that would
methodology
allow you
my
to cling to a
methodology is based
radical
off of
position.
my methodology is based off of evidence. It's not a radical
Yes,
position to ask for evidence. Do you have any
right.
evidence that Paul was presented or Paul was mentioned or anything like that prior to 144? And if so, give it now and explain how you know it was prior to 144. Go ahead.
Again, what other first century Jewish
We're going to try this again. Do you have any evidence whatsoever for Paul prior to 144? And if you do, present it and show me how you got to that dating. That's all that I'm asking for. I don't care who he is. I don't care who the author is. I don't care what religion the author is. I'm just asking for some kind of mention prior to what we know existed. Because I don't work with hypotheticals. I don't want you to base your belief, or especially not pledge your eternal dying devotion, your entire life to a hypothetical. I think that's stupid, and you've been deceived if you do that. Show me the evidence that Paul is mentioned prior to 144, and show me how you dated it. Go ahead.
it's an unfair standard because if you can't do the same thing for other individuals, then I guess first century Jews just didn't exist. Or what
Is
other
that what
first
you're doing?
century Jew?
So Marcion, somebody who didn't even think Jesus was a human being, you want to rely on him for the first evidence of Paul?
No, man, I'm asking
Okay,
you
man.
if your
I don't know what to
methodology,
tell you.
if your methodology says that you need to see all of this evidence in
Okay.
order to accept that a first century Jew existed,
We're
then
not
what
talking
other
about we're not talking about the evidence for Jesus at the moment. What we're talking about is the evidence for Paul, because you said that Paul was the evidence for Jesus. Give me the evidence for Paul, dude. Like, it's not that hard. It really isn't. Either acknowledge that we don't have any evidence that suggests that Paul actually was a real person until potentially 144, and those versions of those letters aren't the versions that you like, and they're not establishing Paul in the first century. Nothing in the letters even mention anything from the first century. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, at a certain point, I exhaust all options. I'm pointing to you the problem. I'm showing you my methodology. I'm asking for any kind of evidence to the contrary, and you're not providing it. All you are doing is just bitching and whining about the idea that, like, hey, this guy thinks that this book that we know shows up in the second century showed up in the second century. Yeah, dude. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. Do you want me to just like make shit up? Like, sorry, I'm not a Christian.
I mean, I'm just asking you to apply that methodology
To who?
fairly
To who?
to another first century Jewish preacher.
Okay. Apollonius also didn't exist.
Okay, so then were there first century Jewish preachers?
Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe the requirement for the evidence is not appropriate for a figure like this.
You
I'm
know who
criticizing your
mentions
methodology,
the first century writers or the first century Jewish preachers? Other people from the fucking time,
Like who?
like Rabbi Akiva
Rabbi
and
Akiva?
Josephus. Josephus mentions people from that particular point in time. We have
Right. Like
contemporaries of people.
Jesus.
Philo mentioned people.
Yes. Yes, like Jesus.
Philo does not mention Jesus.
No, but Josephus does. And
Okay.
you don't have the evidence to show
okay.
you
Do you have
you don't have the evidence to
any
show.
evidence whatsoever that Josephus mentioned Jesus?
Yes, it's in Antiquities 18:3.
Okay. And what does it say? And by the way, is Josephus a Jew or is he a
Yes.
Christian?
No, he's a Jew.
He's not a Christian?
No, he's not.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Okay. So what does he say in Antiquities 18:3.3?
He says Christian phrasing. I get it.
Okay. Does he say he's getting it from Christians, or is he just saying it as a matter of fact?
I mean, he says it as a matter of fact.
Okay, so when he says he was the Christ, is that what a Jewish person would say, or is that what a Christian would say?
That's what a Christian would say.
You said he wasn't Christian. That's weird. Okay, when he says that he fulfills things that the divine prophets foretold, this and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him, is that from a Jewish person living at the Roman Emperor's compound in the 90s, or is that a Christian?
Are you suggesting that this is sufficient evidence that it's an addition instead of an embellishment?
Well, considering the fact that the current scholarly consensus agrees with me that there are interpolations into the Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3, paragraph. Yeah, dude. That's how that works.
Yes.
In fact, in this particular case, I'm not even fringe anymore.
No,
you just don't know your shit.
The fringe thing would be saying that it's an addition instead of an embellishment.
An interpolation is actually the modern scholars' consensus, is that it's interpolated. That means it's an addition.
It's no, the modern consensus is that it is an embellishment.
That's what additions mean. It's been added to. That's what the word addition mean. It means it's been added to. So the scholarly consensus is that the paragraph in some way could have existed. However, it was absolutely added to later on to some degree. That is the scholarly consensus. Now, I want you to show me any evidence of Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews.
Did not talk about Jesus at all is a massive intellectual leap.
Sweet. So I want you to show me evidence that any version of it that doesn't talk about Jesus as the Christ existed.
I mean, listen, man, we've gone through a ton of different evidence. I believe your methodology.
What you're doing now is you're actually just picking and choosing. What these scholars who claimed that it existed in some way, shape, or form without the Jesus, like, is the Christ references, what they're doing is they're picking and choosing. They're treating it like a buffet. They'd say, well, Josephus wouldn't say that, but we're gonna take that, but we're gonna keep the rest of the sentence. That's what they're doing. All they're doing is they're just removing the parts that they don't like so that they can keep the parts that they do like, without any evidence that the parts that they do like actually existed at that point in time. In fact,
that's exactly
nope. There's no evidence whatsoever that the earliest version, that there was another iteration prior to Eusebius that existed that was a version that said that Jesus existed but he wasn't the Christ or anything, or it doesn't mention that. There's no evidence whatsoever that exists. None.
I understand that you believe that it's a 5th century edition. I understand.
No, I believe it's a 4th century edition.
Okay.
If you're going to insult me, do it properly. Do you have any evidence that it existed prior to the 4th century in any way, shape, or form, even in the Christian version?
Again, I ask that you apply the standard fairly.
Do you have any proof I did it for Paul. I'm doing it for Josephus. You are making shit up. And the scholars, they just kind of treat it like a buffet. They are acting as if things that they don't have evidence for actually did exist, because the things that we do have evidence for are things that make it look really bad. So, do you have any evidence that the Testimonium Flavianum existed in a non-interpolated way prior to 4th century?
With your methodology, man, I don't.
Do you have it within your methodology? What's your methodology that suggests that it was? Please explain to everyone watching what your methodology is that shows the Testimonium Flavianum existed without the Christian interpolations or additions. What's your methodology?
I'm not going to argue against interpolations, but I will
that's fine. Show us the methodology of how you determine what was actually written there.
Okay, again,
you've been ranting and raving about how my methodology sucks. Please present yours.
Okay, so there is looking at Eusebius. I'm happy to concede that in the 4th century there are things that changed. I'm looking at the facts. There is no evidence that would suggest that That passage did not exist in some form in the past. You can't just
Okay.
scrap the whole
What
thing
was
because it
any
was
mention of it
changed.
prior? Was there any mention of the Testimonium Flavianum in any way, shape, or form prior to Eusebius?
What are you talking
Was
about,
there
dude?
any
This
mention
this
of the
is a
Testimonium
90
Flavianum?
AD.
Is there any mention of the Testimonium Flavianum prior to the 4th century? Did
Um,
Origen mention it whenever he was quoting from Antiquities of the Jews?
I mean, no, but
Okay.
Tacitus
Did
is
anybody mention it?
confirming what Josephus writes.
No, he didn't. Tacitus didn't
Yes,
say
he
shit about it.
does.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, like with King Aretas, absolutely. Josephus writes that King Aretas was in charge of the Nabatean kingdom, that Tiberius told the governor of Syria to wage war against King Aretas IV. And then, sure enough, Tacitus says the same thing. There are other checks on Josephus that prove that he's correct.
Sweet. Tacitus doesn't line up with what Josephus said about Jesus there. That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, do you have anything that suggests that the Testimonium Flavianum existed in any form prior to the 4th century?
Dude, are you suggesting that Josephus was written in the 4th century now?
No.
Okay,
I
then
asked
what
for
a
the
stupid
Testimonium
question,
Flavianum.
bro.
The Testimonium Flavianum is created by Eusebius. Do you have any evidence whatsoever that it existed in any form prior to Eusebius?
Just as you don't have any evidence to suggest that it didn't, no.
No, we actually do have phrases that are found within the Testimonium Flavianum, such as the phrase that gets translated as a doer of good works, where Josephus uses that every other time to mean poet, but Eusebius uses it as a miracle worker multiple times within Demonstratio Evangelica, which is the book that he says, let us now make use of Josephus the Jew, and gives us the Testimonium Flavianum for the first time. And, by the way, the incorrect version, the version you think didn't actually exist, because the scholarly consensus right now of even Christian scholars is saying that that version is the version that was messed with by Christians. So congratulations. You didn't provide any evidence, and then I gave you evidence to suggest that Eusebius is actually the person who crafts it. And by the way, the doer of good works is not part of the Christian scholars' claims for interpolations. That is actually just a common phrase that Josephus uses in a way that's unlike the Testimonium, and Eusebius uses in a bunch of different instances in a way that is like the Testimonium. Checkmate. Anything else?
No, man. Happy 2026.
Sounds
Any
good, man.
Domini.
All right. Let's see. Manifest ASMR. What's going on?
Hey man, sorry. I'm not here. I'm not here to debate anything. I'm just like listening to you guys. I don't have any opinion on this. I just listen to you guys, and like what you're saying is
Why'd you
just so
request
damn.
up if you didn't have any opinion?
No. I just wanted to say, like, I think it's powerful what's your belief system. I'm more up here, I guess. Like I didn't ask to come up here. But I did want to say, like, I acknowledge what you do, man. And
All right.
you
Do
know,
you think that Jesus or Paul existed 2,000 years ago?
you know what's funny? Like, I asked the question, how the fuck does something become something huge?
All right. Apparently, a moderator wanted to remove him. All right. Probably for the best. All right. Let me see here.
Can you hear me?
We've got, is it Gaz? Gas?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Not a problem. What you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they existed. My comment's more about the last guy,
Okay.
because according to his methodology, all things that exist today existed back then because we have no proof they weren't mentioned back then.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say. That was annoying me.
It's kind of like a reverse argument from silence, which in my opinion is so much worse. Somebody pointed out, I believe it's Hetty artist pointed out to me a long time ago, that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence unless evidence is expected. So, in other words, we would expect to see evidence for George Washington in the 18th century, not the 2nd century. So, the fact that we don't have anything in the 2nd century is really good evidence to suggest that he didn't exist at that point. All right. Because all the stories don't necessarily line up with the 2nd century. The stories of Jesus supposedly line up with the 1st century.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But guess what century we don't have any evidence for him in? The first one. That's really weird. But we have evidence in the second century when all these things I'm saying are getting written and everything like that. That's when we start seeing people talking about him. The first non-Christian to definitively talk about Jesus is Lucian of Samosata in roughly 166. But here's my point. What he was doing was he was saying, because we don't have any, or despite the fact that we don't have any evidence prior, that doesn't mean that there wasn't at some point in time evidence that we just don't have, I guess, today. And that is really stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's not just saying, oh, hey, we don't have anything, so it's not there. It's saying we don't have anything, so it's there. And that's absurd. You're just creating things out of thin air. That's dumb. The argument from silence might be like making an argument out of nothing, but he is making literal documents, literal pieces of paper out of nothing.
Exactly. And that this is dumb, because you can't bring that to an argument about whether God bequeathed his own begotten son to us.
What did you say?
Oh, I said that's not proof that he ever bequeathed us Jesus. You know what I mean?
Is there a TH in the middle of that or an F?
Yeah, I said it right. Bequeath. I said it.
This motherfucker. All right. Anyways, this guy, he got up here on the panel just to do that. That was the entire joke. That was the entire joke.
I said, bitch.
This guy. Anyways. It's the long con. Exactly. Anyways, if you're watching over there on YouTube, you can click the link that's in the chat. Come on up. I want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. If you got evidence for Jesus or Paul existing 2,000 years ago, I definitely want to hear from you. Again, the link is in the chat. I'm actually going to put it in the chat yet again. You might need to scroll up just a little bit to see it, but I'm going to put it over there. If you've got any evidence, click the link. Come on up. If you don't, now I take guests on TikTok. So if you don't have a TikTok or you don't want to come over to TikTok or anything like that, that's perfectly fine. Send a super chat. I will read it out loud and respond to it. I promise. In fact, there's already a couple super chats. Let me see here. So we got $2 from a Lope Nope says, what the fuck happened to Bible Libel show? I was waiting. That was Sunday night. And it was on TikTok. YouTube was not going to be okay with that shit. But anyways, yeah, let's see. $2 on from a Lope Nope there. Oh, okay. So somebody must have pointed it out. Said, make Bible Libel show on YouTube also. And then an angry face and then hashtag grief for Christ. All right. So the floodgates have now opened. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and add these up because this is just ridiculous. Let's see here. 5, 10, 15, 20. Jesus Christ. All right. There are currently right now, I'm going to go ahead and add that one in there, 472 keywords. That's insanity. All right. $2 there from Brock Donovan says, how often do you stream? So today is a late start. I probably won't need to do that too terribly much more. But generally speaking, I stream every weekday from it's anywhere from 9 to 10. Some usually about 9:30 or 10 a.m. Central, all the way to about 2:30 Central. So yeah, if you're wanting to come up later on or something like that, that's perfectly fine. I know a lot of people are still at work. Some people come up during their lunch break. It's all over the place. So thank you very much for stopping by, though. Absolutely. But if you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I want to hear from you. You can either request up on TikTok if you're here. The request button should be right about there or down there. Or if you're on YouTube, click the link in the chat or on the YouTube profile and join here on TikTok. Let's see. I'd also like to remind people. No, Han Squello. I want mermaids and raptor Jesus. That's really strange. If no. If Marcion visited Christian churches in 140, that means Jesus and Paul before 140. No, It just means that there were Christian churches. I'm acknowledging the fact that Christians as a mystery cult existed prior. It's just that the mythology itself shows up in 144. That's when it gets published. That's when the story starts swirling around. And there may have been some people who we talked to about that who wanted to come up with their gospels as well that kind of refute that kind of stuff, like Matthew or Mark. But yeah, I mean, they still show up about the same time. Christian churches prior to 144 did not prove that Jesus and Paul exist. It proves that the religion existed. And we actually see evidence of this church going back to about the 1st century BCE or so. Ben says, how can we talk about history when you reject history like eyeballs and then a rose or something? Here, I sent you an invite. Come on up. $5 from Brock Donovan says, just curious, why do you not believe that Paul and Jesus existed? Right on the nose. So the reason I don't is because even the natural Jesus and Paul, as presented by the New Testament, can't exist within the 1st century because the stories don't line up with the 1st century. They don't line up with what we know from contemporaries of the time, from what we know from like Jewish theology of the time or Jewish religious practices of the time. Let's see. It doesn't line up with what we know about geography in some cases, as well as archaeology. It's written in third-person omniscient, where you're able to hear behind walls. It contradicts itself in many cases. Some of the Gospels or books even contradict themselves, like within that one book. It's the New Testament is first published, and the Gospels are first published. Well, any writing about Jesus is first published over 100 years after the supposed death of Jesus by a man who didn't think Jesus was a human being. It's pretty bad. And Christians are mentioned prior to this guy, but never with a Jesus involved with it. And then the ancient historians like Josephus and Tacitus, they are interpolated into by later Christians, trying to make it seem like Jesus was talked about by more prominent figures. They're usually interpolated sometime about the 4th century, which is when Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. Somebody on TikTok said, well, I think it comes down to the definition of Jesus. It's likely that such a figure existed. No, it's not likely that the figure that Jesus, or the person in the New Testament that Jesus is presented as, it's not likely that that person existed. But the name Jesus itself was a name, obviously in its like Hebrew form or even Greek form. Like it existed. There's multiple Jesuses that Josephus talks about. He just never really talks about the one from like the New Testament. The time that he supposedly does, known as the Testimonium Flavianum, is written by Eusebius a little over 200 years after the death of Josephus. What if they were called just Jessians? I think maybe Jesusians instead of Christians, LOL. So that is actually fairly close to what Epiphanius and Eusebius, or at least Epiphanius, tries to claim that the Christians were called. He said that they were first called Jessians. Which is actually really strange. The concept of followers of the way, I don't know of anybody, and maybe somebody could help find some. I don't know of any 2nd or 3rd century church fathers that I know of who claimed that they were actually called followers of the way. There might be one or two, but like Epiphanius, who writes a history for the church, he says they were first called Jessians, and then Nazarenes. He never mentions that they were called followers of the way, which is weird. I don't know why. And he doesn't say that they were called Jessians because that's close to Jesus. He says that they were called that because Jesus came from David, whose father was Jesse. It's really ridiculous. I don't know what's going on there. That was weird. That was really weird. It's still on. I had to disconnect myself. That was really strange. I've never seen it do that before. Yeah, TikTok just like messed up and just unmuted my phone. It's really weird. I did. I tried to mute it. It was muted the whole time. I don't unmute it. All right. The Bar Coke Revolt as well. I'm not really sure. Wait, hang on, let me see if I can see the Bar Coke Revolt as well. I don't know what you would be referring to there with the Bar Coke. The Bar Coke Revolt is it is definitely a catalyst for the New Testament to start showing up. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, that was weird. I just reconnect myself. Host ran. Host ran from host. No, sorry. Sorry, Hans Skolo. Not gonna say it. It seems obvious that they added him to make their religion more prominent, if you believe that nonsense. Sort of, kinda, yeah. So, in order to kind of give their religion a backbone and like a backstory, if you will, or an origin story, the mythology of Jesus shows up. Paul is seen as this apostle who is the colossal apostle. He's the guy. He's the guy who spreads it. And if you read it as like Hanji has suggested, and I tend to actually believe, that and even Hanji got both me and Matthew to be like, that makes some sense. That Paul is probably just a stand-in or a placeholder for Marcion himself, and if that's the case, then Marcion is more or less just talking about himself, like receiving the gospel from Revelation and then giving people the gospel. So that's the idea. Marcion is like, hey, here's this backstory. I got it just divinely, and I'm giving it to you. And instead of saying that, he says, here's this backstory. Paul got it divinely, and he's giving it to you. That's all that it is. $2 from Brock Donovan says, what do you believe in? I believe in ice cream and a clean pair of slacks. Years later, a doctor will tell me that I have an IQ of 78 and what many people call mentally handicapped. Had to clean that quote up there for you guys. All right, Italian guy, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm looking to recreate Brokeback Mountain. Are you down or not?
I am absolutely down. When are we filming?
Oh, dude, fuck yeah, dude. Next week. I'll send you a message, all right?
Okay, is it on location?
Hell yeah, dude.
So what location was Brokeback Mountain filmed in?
Mount Ararat.
That's not true. You haven't seen it, and you're just a troll. See you later, buddy. Tell your mama said hey. All right. If you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Here's the deal. I haven't seen a lot of movies. I haven't. But the one thing I can tell you is that when it comes to the locations of the movies filmed, I don't know shit about it. He literally could have said anywhere. And I would have been like, man, that sounds pretty good. But I know that Mount Ararat is not. I don't know where they filmed Brokeback Mountain, but I know Mount Ararat is the incorrect location for the filming of that movie. Anyways, if you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Remember, guys, 1 Peter 3:15. I'm going to have to whip it out here for you guys. Here we go. 1 Peter 3:15, which you're going to start seeing on the screen, and I'm going to read it out. Now, this is a particular translation, but whatever. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. In other words, always be prepared to give a defense of why you believe what you believe when questioned or demanded of you, depending on the translation as well. But do so respectfully. If you are a Bible-believing Christian out there, and you die tonight, Jesus is going to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Depart from me, I never knew you. You didn't take time out of your busy-ass schedule to go talk to the guy who dresses like a fucking cowboy on TikTok and YouTube to actually explain that Jesus and Paul existed 2,000 years ago. You didn't take time to do it. You didn't take time to do it, even though my Bible, my book, explicitly tells you to always be prepared to do it. I'm sorry. You're letting God down if you don't come up here and give me evidence for Jesus and Paul 2,000 years ago. You're letting him down. And when God gets sad, we all know he unalives a puppy. Twice. Same puppy. Look it up. No, go ahead. Look it up. Look it up. It's in the book of Nehemiah. Sorry. So please, request up. If you're on YouTube, click the link that's in the chat. It'll take you over to TikTok. That's how I take guests. If you're on TikTok, just request right here or down here. We can have a conversation about it. Clip says, do you think Marcion could have potentially had a financial incentive to make the Jesus mythology? Potentially. I think overall, like, Picture Christianity like this weird, like, hippie commune, if you will, or like this big music festival that's like super cheap or possibly even free, and you just kind of show up and you're having a good time, and everybody's just loving everybody and having a great time, right? It's really chill. Everybody's cool people. Everybody's treating everybody right. But over time, you have this group that kind of overlooks it and says, "Hey, I went out to this place and I see an amazing opportunity to cash in on this, to possibly get rich by bringing out maybe better material, by bringing out better musicians, bigger stages, better or more amenities, potential places for people to stay, better food, better parking, if you will. Maybe parking at all. And what I'm going to do to recoup these losses and make a little bit of money off of this is I'm going to start charging, and it becomes more and more expensive, and it becomes more and more corporate over time. And eventually, it's not even that good. Like, what you're actually getting, the amenities aren't that great. Like, they're not better than last year. In fact, they're probably even a depreciation from what they were last year. They've actually gone down, but the prices haven't even stayed the same. They've gone up. This is shit now. Marcion started a trend, and this trend within Christianity is writing mythology and building on top of this IP and creating a text-based religion as opposed to just like a mystery cult that like people just kind of joined and anybody could. It's syncretic. Who gives a shit? Later on, you have the proto-Catholics who come in and they say, not only are we going to write these rules or write these texts or whatever, we're going to make rules around them. We're going to actually tell you, these are the only texts that you can read. You can't read the others. They're terrible. We're going to kick them out and everything like that. And the way we're going to back this up is by saying that we are actually connected via apostolic lineage to the disciples. And we're going to start our headquarters over in Rome. If you really think about it, the headquarters of Christianity should never be Rome. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, it doesn't. Why? Why would it be Rome? That's stupid. The only reason it is there is because that just happened to be the hub for a lot of different beliefs. They started there. Not like Christianity started there, but like they started to put their headquarters there because that was the hub of the world. That was where you could make the most money. There's a financial incentive behind this. Now, Marcion himself may not have seen it too terribly much as a financial gain, but you could absolutely become at least bankrolled by involving yourself. We know this from Lucian of Samosata's writing of Peregrinus Proteus. It's a marketing location, yeah. Let's see. Rome persecuted us, and that's why it's our home now. It's really stupid. What if they tried to do it in Jerusalem, but Jerusalem got destroyed? I mean, it was still there, and they weren't banished. The Christians weren't banished. The Jewish people were banished, but they weren't. The Christians were never mentioned at the Bar Kokhba revolt by the Romans to be banished or anything like that. They weren't there. Greatest city in the world. That's funny. I don't think that Rome was pronounced Fort Worth. But what I will say is that a lot of their claims of the run-ins with Rome and stuff like that make more sense when you think this text-based religion and like their headquarters and stuff like that. Like, they were trying to prop up Rome and make Rome like their main city. So yeah, they're probably going to have some run-ins with Romans there. It only makes sense. $4.99 from Cocard 1000 says 1 Corinthians 1:24 mentions I don't even know how to say that. Syzygy? Was Marcion trying to erase Helena/Sophia from early Christianity? Would explain odd androgynous reference to Jesus. 1 Corinthians 1:24. I'm not even sure if that's actually in like the Apostolicon. Let me check. I've got it pulled up here. We're looking at 1 Corinthians 1:24. Here we go. This is it, right? Yeah, 1 Corinthians. 24 is not in there. 124 is not in there. The entire passage reads like this. Let me see if I can. Here we go. You read to this. For the Judeans, verse 22, ask for signs, and the Greeks look for wisdom. 23, we declare Christos or Christos or whatever, depending on your translation there. To Judeans, a pitfall. That's what it says. And then 25, because of a foolish thing of God. Yeah, so it doesn't even have verse 24. It's something that's not even attested to. Let's see. A Christian says, okay, what? All right, it seems obvious that they added him to make their religion more prominent. If you believe that nonsense, it's the whole he died for your sins to absolve all the Cretans. They later did that, accept pay. They later did actually accept pay. From a logic standpoint, if someone can actually believe the Trinity easily controlled, pretty much, that's antithetical to their cause, that's only because it was the largest civilization. I think Rome weren't too godly. They saw an opportunity as they were struggling, used for control. Yeah, I mean, yeah, to some extent, that's the idea. As Rome itself needed something to attach itself to keep the empire intact, and since Christianity was this growing religion, they were like, you know what? Let's go ahead and just accept this religion, and say that that's our main religion, and that will potentially keep us together and unified to some degree. But what that ended up doing is it just kind of it gave too much power to the church, and so the Pope raised his authority. It raised his authority and lowered the emperor's authorities. So it fell apart. It was destined to fail, and accepting Christianity as your official religion didn't help the country at all. Which is funny, because like people are always like, oh yeah, you know, our country needs to go closer to God or something like that, and that way it'll keep the country intact or whatever, and God will bless us. It's like Rome literally was like the empire of Christianity, and it failed miserably. So like, what are you talking about? Alrighty. If you got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I sent somebody in the chat an invite there. I sent a couple people an invite. Come on up. Make America Rome again is crazy. All right. Cowboy chowing down. Absolutely. It's some chili. So, Undra needs to go up, is what Queen says. Who's Undra? I don't know who that is. Who's Undra? Oh. I don't know who that is. Here, Undra, you muted there in the chat. You can't comment anymore, but you can request up. That's what I'd like for you to do. We got Inbal, and Bale. I don't know how to pronounce your first name.
Inbal. Hi, can you hear me?
I think I'm even further away from what it was, but yeah, I can hear you. What you got?
Inbal, like I-N, Inbal. By the way, it's the clapper of the bell in Hebrew.
Oh.
Inbal.
So it's like in a bell.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right.
To make it.
Yeah.
So, no, I have nothing. I adore you, and I listen carefully, and I change my tons of things that I thought about. Oh, no, seriously.
Well, thank you.
So I wanted to read you to buy your book, but I couldn't figure out what's the name.
Let's see here. It's funny. On this like review, or not review, but there was someone on a Reddit comment that was saying that I can't go 10 minutes without showing my book and like showing it off or whatever.
Really?
Like yeah,
No.
I've been going live for over an hour and I still have my book down here. Like I just I don't know where
No.
they must have just saw like a weird day or something. But anyways, Christ Before Jesus is available. The ebook is $3. It's the link's in my bio.
Okay, links in your bio.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on the
okay.
bio here on TikTok, or it's on the YouTube profile. You can click it out. Like I said, the ebook is just $3.
Yeah, no, I love what you are bringing. You know, I mean, it doesn't mean that people cannot choose to believe in what they want to believe, but to know they are at least they're close to the facts. I think we all know nothing is like a factual. We get close to it, right?
Yeah, you want to make sure that at the very least what you believe there's a good reason to believe it, and that reason is based off of like evidence, if that makes sense. Like you have some sort of evidence to lean on and say this right here is why I think this. And if you think that Jesus and Paul existed 2,000 years ago, you should be able to point to evidence and say this right here is good evidence to suggest that this is actually the case. And if you can have proof, which is just evidence that is beyond shadow of a doubt, then that's really good. Now, we might, as you said, you know, it's a philosophical question, but we might not really have proof for anything. But I mean, I think it's close enough.
Yeah, and also, you know, you mentioned the closest book or evidence was a writer by the name Josephus, whatever, that he wrote a fiction book about a person that looks like or sounds like Jesus, right? Did I say it right? Did I get it right? You said like you mentioned
Apollonius of Tyana, that one?
No. You said that there was once upon a time, sorry, a person that wrote something that sounds like Jesus, but it was totally fiction. Just a book, like, don't you remember? And you said his name was Joseph or Joshua, or something like one of the names of Jesus. And you said this is the closest thing to Jesus, and it was like just a story. What was it?
I don't know what this would be. You might be talking about if it's not well. Okay, so there's the Wisdom of Sirach, which is written by a guy named Jesus, but that's a real person. As far as we could tell, but he was in the early 2nd century BCE.
And he wrote like just a story, right? That sounds like
he wrote like proverbs kind of things. I don't know who you'd be referring to be honest. I'm not really sure.
Okay, now hold on. Maybe it's all my imagination. But I wanted to ask you another thing. Yeah, I came up with a question. So Jesus and Paul were not real people, but all the rest, I mean, why only Jesus and Paul? I understand why Jesus and Paul are very important.
If Jesus, if Jesus didn't exist, then the disciples of Jesus, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Even if you thought they existed, they wouldn't be disciples of him, so it wouldn't matter. But if you take out disciples of Jesus, if you take out brothers of Jesus, you take out Jesus, then the only person who you've got left who is writing anything in the New Testament would be Paul. And if he didn't exist, then
nothing.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
So how did Paul not exist, though? What's the evidence behind him not existing?
Oh, but really quick. So was that your question there, Inbal, or did you have anything else?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoy. I came across also an atheist guy or whatever he is, and he's like, also, I'm not religious, but you know, this culture is like just like into you, you know, and you don't like what's going on, you know, you don't do the research. You know, I was born in Israel as a Jewish person, which like it was automatic, right? I'm none. Like I'm not neither. But you know, I walked in old Jerusalem where Jesus walked with a cross, and I got connected immediately with the churches and with Islam as well. That's my life story. You know, I can have everything inside me. But I was really, you know, I didn't even question it. it was, Jesus. I didn't even
Right.
question it. And I like to question things, not because I'm against them. I just want to know the knowledge bring me power to choose.
Oh
I
yeah.
can still like Jesus. It looks like by scripture he's a great man. He's maybe similar to Buddha, in his personality, or
Maybe.
Lao Tse, the Chinese. They are all philosophers, whether they were there or not. I can learn from things like that, right? But it's a different thing. Like just like it's a total
Knowledge is
mystery.
power, and the power to choose is pretty good.
Exactly.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, so I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So yeah. So this is the name. Jesus and Paul never existed.
Well,
No,
yeah,
no.
that's- well, the name of the book
Christ.
is Christ Before Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, Christ before Jesus.
There you go.
Thank you, dear. Inbal.
Inbal.
Say it.
Inbal. Thank you very much.
It's easy. You say way more like difficult and complicated names,
Yeah.
and you remember everything.
Well, I try to. But I'll remember this one. Inbal. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
All right. So now we've got Undra over here. Oh, here. Let me. Okay. I sent you an invite. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was your question initially? What was your question there?
Paul not existing.
Say what?
What's the evidence behind Paul not existing?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Paul's story there from the New Testament definitely doesn't line up with the first century. In Acts, it says not only contradictory things about his conversion, but on top of that, it has him going to or saying that claiming that he's going to multiple synagogues in Jerusalem, and there are no synagogues in Jerusalem prior to the temple's fall. That doesn't make any sense. And
What about all the people that said that met him though? All those records from the Roman times. Nero killed them, and there's records from back then saying how he killed them from Tertullians.
All right. So you believe that there's historical evidence for Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody knows what time it is.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I want you, Undra, to name me one non-Christian that mentions Paul in antiquity.
Clement
Clement is a Christian.
in 90, at the year 90 when they were being persecuted.
I asked you to name me one non-Christian who mentions him.
I already did, but you're saying that he's a Christian, so
Clement?
yeah.
Clement is considered the third pope. So he's Christian.
What about Ignatius?
Also a Christian. What the hell are you doing?
Dionysius was also a Christian then?
Who?
All of them were Christian? All of them got converted?
What was that last
Dionysius
person?
of Corinth?
Yeah, dude, that's a Christian. Who are you talking? Why are you? I said name me a non-Christian, and you proceed to mention 3 Christians. One of them being an actual pope.
So Clement was a pope.
According
year 90.
according to Christianity, or according to early Christian writings, yeah.
Man, Clement was no pope. There was not even a church back then. There was no Catholic.
You don't think there was a
back
church
then.
in the 90s?
No.
What is the Pope?
Yo, the emperor.
Tell me what the Pope is.
He was persecuting the Christians for like 200
What is the Pope?
years, like 200.
Before they called the pontiff a pope, what did they call him? What's his position?
Like, I don't remember. I don't remember the name.
It's the Bishop of Rome. That just requires that there's a church in Rome. Do you not think there's a church in Rome in the 90s?
There was definitely not a Church of Rome in the 90s.
So there were no Christians in Rome in the 90s.
They were Christians, but they were persecuted. There was no out church, you know.
So who was
they couldn't
Paul
just
writing
congregate
to?
like that. Like,
So who was Paul writing to?
Hey, I'm the Pope.
So who was Paul writing to?
Paul was writing to Galatians.
In his book, Romans?
That's different though. He was talking to people, man. Like it's not the same as saying
the
like,
church.
oh, there's the church.
Who was he sending the letter to? The church. It explicitly says the church in Rome in Revelation. What are you talking about? What? I don't think you have any clue about what you're talking about. Also, I can't hear you when you're off the app, so... So I asked you for non-Christians, and you named 3 Christians. One of them was the Pope. That you then said they didn't have a Pope because they didn't have a church in Rome, which is talked about in the Bible. And Paul, who you're trying to argue for, supposedly wrote a letter to the Roman Church.
So Tacitus, Suetonius. What about
Tacitus and Suetonius also don't mention Paul.
They were Christians. They do mention Paul.
Where does Tacitus mention Paul?
All right. I'll get the link. Pull up.
Go ahead. Which, by the way, Tacitus is explicitly talking about Christians in Rome in the 60s. This is getting worse by the minute. Oh, whoa, that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. Was that racist? Nah, it wasn't racist. No. It's funny. That was pretty cool. He was like a little punch. Punch is his name. Little punch, the little monkey. All right. Happy birthday, hot dog, Zeno, and Jern. So again, I just want to remind you that while you're off the app searching, I can't hear you. You can hear me, but I want to also remind you, you're looking for a reference of, like, to Paul in the writings of Tacitus. The writings of Tacitus. Looking for a mention of Paul. So currently right now, oh, okay, you're back. So, you just gotta, I think you're back, but for some reason you're muted. You gotta click the little microphone button. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
So, in the writings of Tacitus, did you find any mention of Paul?
Nah, yeah, you were right about that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, name me a non-Christian who mentions Paul.
Nah, but he did mention Jesus, though.
Sweet. We're talking about Paul. That's why you hear this music. It is hard mode.
Yes.
You activated hard mode because you said yes to the question, do you believe that we have historical evidence for Paul? So please provide said evidence. If you don't have a non-Christian
I just
Paul,
conceded your point that no non-Christian source mentioned Paul by name.
Sweet. Now I'm going to open it up to
Jesus,
Christians. I'm going to open it to Christians. I want you to name a Christian who we knew wrote a particular text and said, I knew Paul personally.
Can't think of any.
Okay. That's 1 degree of separation. Let's go 2 degrees of separation. I want you to name me a Christian who we knew wrote and said that they personally knew somebody who knew Paul personally. So maybe even a Christian who says, I knew one of the disciples. The historical evidence for Paul is deteriorating in your hands.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. The first time that we get any mention of this Paul character is in 144 by a Christian theologian named Marcion, who's later deemed a heretic because his beliefs are so weird or so different from what we know as Christianity today. He believed...
Wait.
Go ahead.
Well, you're saying the first non-Christian that said that he existed?
No, the first anyone to say that Paul existed was Marcion.
But aren't...
All right. So,
Go ahead.
Marcion publishes a New Testament canon. He's the first one to publish a canon that is called the New Testament in roughly about 144. All right. It includes Evangelion or Evangelion. That just means gospel in Greek there. It has his gospel, and then it has 9 or 10 books written in the style of letters attributed to somebody named Paul. All right.
Wait,
and he
but
presents
Clement
this
also
canon
said
in
that
144.
Paul existed. Sorry about interrupting,
Okay.
but Paul, Clement also said that Paul existed, and that was 50 years before that.
No.
90.
Where's the evidence that he was writing in 90?
Where's the evidence that it was written in 90?
Yep.
Carbon dated.
No. We do not have the original copy of it. That doesn't make any sense.
We don't have the original copy of it, so they're just making it up that it was written in 90?
Yes, actually. They're relying upon the opening line that says recent tragedies and hindrances that have befallen us. And they think that that just means persecution from Domitian in the 90s, even though it never mentions Domitian or violence. And the whole letter doesn't even mention Clement.
I'll do more research on it.
Does it sound like we've got good historical evidence for Paul?
I'm just not sure if what you're saying is true, so I'm gonna just do some research on it.
Do you realize that it took you to this point to just mention Clement?
No, I mentioned Clement at first, but you said he was a Christian and he doesn't count.
Well, does Clement say he personally knew Paul?
No, Paul was already dead.
Okay. And does anywhere in that text say that it was written in the 90s? Or even the first century?
No, it doesn't.
Does it ever mention in that letter that Clement wrote it?
I'll be back.
All right.
Now that's what I call a Texas barbecue.
All righty. Let me get to some super chats. $2. They're from AXP Spicoli. That's got to be Atheist Experience, right? That says, happy birthday, Dr. Rajam, and then squeef. Actually, technically, it's more like squeef, like that kind of thing. But all right, well, that's the first one that goes down from whatever. We're near to 500 of those stupid things. Okay, $5 are from Alan0465 that says, belief in Christianity is dependent on belief in angels. I mean, kinda. The central facts of Christianity, virgin birth, resurrection, are mediated by them. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I guess. I get, I get, yeah. I see what you're saying. Basically, you'd have to accept angels because otherwise, the biggest things like the crucifixion and the virgin birth, that it wouldn't. That's how they know about those things. Yeah, that makes sense. Christian over on TikTok says it's just blind faith. Yeah, I mean, yeah, more or less that's what it is. Easy, Mike. That's funny. Man. Let's see. Angels are mermaids of the sky. I've never heard anything more ridiculous, but yet so true.
Arby's, we have the meats.
That's mean. What? All right. If you've got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I do. I sincerely do. Whoa, 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 whoa. Robin says, was Antitheses a real book? Like, we know for sure it was real. We can reestablish or reconstruct, I guess, what was in it. M. David Litva actually did a reconstruction of Antitheses here recently. It's pretty cool. What is the story about resurrection? What's the source of this belief? Do we have it in other cultures? Yeah, other cultures believed in a dying and rising God. It's pretty common. Romulus, he not only like resurrected, if you will, but he also ascended into heaven upon his death. He was supposedly one of the founders of Rome, orphaned as a young child and nursed back to health by a she-wolf. Martians Bible, yeah. And Matt King says, but if you believe in angels, you better believe in zombies because Jesus was one. Yeah, according to the story, yeah, he would have been more like a zombie-ish kind of character. Oh, well, at a certain point, at least. The scale of proof against Christianity versus proof for it is completely tilted towards no. Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree. Again, guys, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. As you can tell, 1 Peter 3:15. Always be prepared to give a reason, or to always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. Respect. Come on up, guys. He's whipping it out again.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Also, according to Some Kind of Zombie by Audio Adrenaline. I hear you speak and I obey. Some kind of zombie. Oh, man. Never heard that song. Why always the same subject? I figured it would be an easy one. I figured I'd pick the easiest one for the Christians to prove. And yet, for 2.5 years, they can't prove it. It can be changed. Yeah. I need to alter it there. Contain a lot of content about morality. To some degree, yeah. All right, let's see here. We've got Plaid Monkey.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. I think I'm more familiar with your brother's work. Brass, I believe he is.
Yeah, he gets way more attention than I do.
That monkey.
So I don't disagree with you, and I've watched your streams for a while.
Okay.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your research and stylometry. Explain to me a little bit more about how you came across this process. I mean, what are your methods? What's the scientific approach that you're using to determine that these writings were written by different authors and what they prove and disprove?
I mean, the Christians already said they're written by different authors. Are you what are you talking about exactly? Like, give me an example.
I'm talking about like let's say, for example, Paul's letters, and the differences between the styles of writing between those different books, where some scholars only think that Paul actually only wrote 7 of the books. but the other ones were written in a Paul style. So explain to me how do they get to that point? How do they understand that there's a difference?
So they are using stellometry as well, fairly rudimentary form of it, but still stellometry. And they're saying that the style that we find within the non authentic letters is different from the style that we find within the authentic ones. But they're doing things at the book level. So they take a look at the entire book and compare, like, say, Romans to Galatians, and then Romans and Galatians to, say, First Timothy. So because First Timothy is a pastoral and definitely not from Paul, they see that even at the book level, it's very clearly not even something he wrote. So yeah, I mean,
Okay, so
they're
another
taking a look at
question.
the style. What we're doing is we're diving into the text even further and chopping it into pieces to see if even like certain sections or chapters of the Pauline epistles even come up with other sections and chapters of the same epistle. And we see that there are only
Okay.
bits and pieces of like 4 of the epistles that you could even say are from one particular person who might be a Paul. And that's like bits and pieces of Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, and Galatians. But it still shows up as like 2nd century text. You know, it doesn't show up, you know, alongside 1st century Greek or anything. But we're not alone in saying this. So before our work came out at the book level, using more up-to-date methods, Dr. Jacques Savoy said that there were at best 5 epistles of Paul. F.C. Bauer, without using data science in the 1800s, said that there were 4 letters of Paul, the same 4 letters that we find bits and pieces connected to. Then you have, after our book comes out, using the same software we use, is Dr. Benjamin White. Dr. Benjamin White, he, again, used the same methodology we use, and by the way, has pictures in his book that crop things off, like the bottom of his images and stuff, which is what people accuse us of doing, but then a scholar fucking does it. We actually explain our methodology better or clearer than Benjamin White does, which is why I probably shouldn't tell you that. Okay, never mind. So scratch what I just said over the last couple seconds. But the point is, when it comes to these scholarly approaches, there are ways and there are people that use these ways to take a look at the text and determine that, yeah, at best, you have these really shoddily put together letters that don't seem to come from one particular author. What Benjamin White's conclusion was for Paul was that you can't confidently say that there are 7 authentic letters of Paul. You can't.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You're saying that there's no historicity of a person named Jesus or a person named Paul. Paul was, in theory, a Roman citizen.
Okay.
Is there no documentation to show that there was a Roman citizen like Paul?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And then my next question is the apostles. There's no
The apostles
historical disciples.
Okay.
The 12 disciples.
Yeah.
There's no historical evidence for these guys.
Nope.
But
neither Paul nor the 13 disciples that are mentioned in the New Testament are ever mentioned outside of Christianity once.
Nothing. There's nothing that exists for them.
Nope. And you would think so. At least one of them. That's 14 different people who were apparently following Jesus, saw him, and then at least 13 of those 14 went around and spread the message of him eventually.
Paul never actually saw Jesus. He just supposedly interviewed the apostles.
Yeah, so that's 13 that saw him, 13 that went out and did the message. Yeah. But
okay. The thing that I always wonder about is that, these people that died for Christianity, the disciples who went out and spread this message, there's no evidence for them in other cultures that they supposedly went to.
No.
There's only sort of traditional
Yeah, it's like Christian
traditional
tradition.
belief
That's
that
all that it is.
like the Martoma Church in India, who
Yeah, they don't have any
claim
evidence
that
for like
Saint Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See, that's
I
the
find it
problem is that
interesting.
like even these areas where they went and preached and started these churches don't have any evidence for them back then. No one ever fucking
Yeah.
mentions them.
Yeah. It's just well, and I know that people will come back and say that, well, it was based on oral tradition, and those oral traditions were eventually passed down and then them written down.
Well, I mean,
So
maybe, but like, why is Rome the first one to mention these things as opposed to the places that these people actually went?
right,
That's really weird.
right. Okay.
Yeah, kids tire themselves out.
Well, cool. I enjoy your streams, and I'm just really interested in the sort of the scientific process of it. I'm fascinated by how something evolves into a religion from a cult or a group of people, how it grew into being this giant thing that controls so many lives.
Well, I mean, because the Roman government accepts it as their official religion. Once it becomes the official religion, it's lights out. They go around destroying other Christians, other religions, temples, documents, statues.
Yeah, and but what happened up until Constantine? I mean,
It grew.
it grew from what? From just some group of people that followed a radical guy.
No, because the radical guy didn't exist. That's what I'm saying. The church itself was already around. The concept of, oh, this was just founded by some guy who died in 30 is that's the mythology. No, the church itself was already existent in multiple places prior to the first century, I would even say.
Well, there were so many radicals during that time that were popping. They were popping up everywhere, going against the Jewish state, the religion. Preaching freedom from the Romans.
Against the Jewish state. Name me a radical against the Jewish state.
Well, I can't actually say names, but there was.
You mean like the Romans? Like against the Romans?
Yeah, against the Romans, against
so
the
Jesus
Jewish
says,
church.
Pay your taxes, and that's against your Romans?
No, he wasn't. It
so
wasn't just about paying your
taxes.
tax.
Romans. Yeah,
I'm having trouble explaining this.
It's not, but I get what you're saying because this is a common. I'm not saying you are an apologetics person or apologist, but
I'm not a believer.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but this is a common.
I'm not a believer.
Trope.
I'm just fascinated by the whole thing.
I get it. But it's a common apologetics trope to say, oh, hey, there's a whole bunch of people like Jesus was like a dime a dozen. They'll say messianic claimants were a dime a dozen. They'll say people who were radicals and stuff like that were a dime a dozen. But they can't really explain how Jesus was too terribly radical against a government that would care. The only thing that anybody ever points to for like why the Romans would give a shit is when he flips over tables in the temple, and that would kind of like mess up the economy for like a day, which is kind of stupid. But anyways, the point is, even if that was the case, or even if the Romans would have been upset with that, we don't have any evidence that he actually did it, considering the fact that Romans never talk about it, the Jews never talked about it, and on top of that, the actual story itself and the stories that go before it and after it, and like the Gospel of Mark and everything like that, when you have like the fig tree that he curses and then finds that it's withered the next day, that follows Hosea 9. It literally follows that path of seeing a fig tree early in leaf, like early in season, and then it says in this poem in Hosea 9 that because of Israel's misdeeds, God will drive them out of his house, and their glory will fly away like a bird. kind of like, you know, overturning the people's tables who sold doves, it says. And then it goes back to the fig tree analogy and says that their root is dried up and they will bear no fruit. And so in that story, in the earliest iteration of it, you have Jesus finding a fig tree early in leaf. Then he goes to the temple and drives people out, turns over the tables of people with doves. And then the next day goes back to the fig tree and it's withered from the root. It's just following a poem. It's not a... It's not an actual historical event, but that's the only thing people can point to that says, oh, hey, this guy is a guy that the Romans would even be okay with unaliving. And as far as the claim that there's a lot of messianic claimants, no, there's not. We don't know of any in the 1st century. In fact, we don't know of any in the 2nd century. The closest we have in the 2nd century is Shimon Bar Kokhba, who never, to our knowledge, calls himself the Messiah. Rabbi Akiva said he was the Messiah. That was it. Because that was the 2nd century. That's not the 1st. So they're trying to make it sound like Jesus absolutely could have existed to try to establish that, like, he probably did. But no, we don't have any evidence to even suggest that he probably did.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your insight, man. Thanks a lot.
Yep, not a problem, man. Thanks for coming out, man. That was a plaid monkey, everybody. Plaid monkey. Plaid monkey.
I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
All right. Neoku says Josephus said the messianic prophecies all applied to Vespasian. Google it. Okay. Cool. Sorry, but Native American prophecy are more true here in the Americas. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not even really aware of any. I assume there's probably some. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really looked into Native American prophecy before. I know they have stories of the past, but I didn't know they had, like, prophecies, really. Like, did they include, like, the terrible shit? Like, all, like, I'm kind of curious now to see how much shit is in the Native American prophecies. Prophecies. Who is the Saint Titus from the Frankfurt Silver Amulet? Probably Titus. That's my guess. Quetzalcoatl. Well, I mean, I know of Quetzalcoatl, but I'm not too well versed on what it said, like, he's gonna be in the future or something. I know the Mayan calendar, but I don't think that was a prophecy of the end of the world. I think it was just the end of the calendar. If they had continued on, they would have just updated their calendar, I'm pretty sure. Probably would have had a giant fucking festival, though. No, not... No, Titus. Titus. As in the biblical Titus. All right. Titus. No, it's not Titus. That's awful. That is awful.
Plan by the push gwing, go get a quindrobos, land to Cilio go.
Yikes. All right. Everybody. No, it's tight us. Us. Jesus. No, Titans. No. I had a biblical case of Titus. Man, I don't know what's going on. I don't like what's going on TikTok. All right. If you've got any evidence of Jesus or Paul, please come up before these people drive me insane down in the chat right now. That's ridiculous. You're reaping what you've sown. You have brought this upon yourself. Hey, Bob. All right. Living up to what Jesus said to do, which was turn the other cheek, Undra is presenting his ass yet again for a spanking. What's going on, Undra?
Man, stop with that shit. But
well, are you not back after you ran away in tears?
Ran away in tears?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how y'all see it?
That's what happened.
Y'all crazy, man. I was being here respectful, but y'all disrespectful as hell.
Did you disconnect yourself?
Yeah, so what? I said I was going to be back.
Were you in tears?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So we at least got half of it. You ran away. So that being said, what do you got now?
Josephus wrote about James.
That's not even
about
how
James'
you
execution.
That's not even how you pronounce it. And also, you were looking for evidence of Paul.
Okay.
Did you find evidence of Paul in Josephus?
Not about Paul, but did about James, and he calls James the brother of Jesus, that he was called the Christ.
Okay, did you read the rest of that passage and see that he's talking about Jesus, the son of Danius, who becomes high priest in the early 60s?
Wait, what?
Did you read Did you read the rest of that paragraph and see that he's talking about Jesus, the son of Danius, who becomes high priest in the early 60s?
So he's not talking about James, and so there was another Jesus Christ that was called the Christ?
No, that is probably just something that's added in later. He goes on for paragraphs talking about that Jesus. He's the
No,
high
I'm talking
priest.
about the first. I'm talking about the first Josephus book.
No, you're actually talking about the 20th. Antiquities of the Jews, book 20, chapter 9, section 1.
It says right here the first. I don't know.
That doesn't even really make any sense. I don't even know where they're getting the idea of the first. But he's talking about the early 60s. That's what's going on then. I'd also like to point out that if you think that that is James, the brother of Jesus, I'm guessing you buy into the Christians saying that he died because he believed in Jesus?
Not really. Probably
I mean, that's what the Christians said, that the James, the brother of Jesus, was unalived for.
I mean,
because
probably he was
okay.
unalived by Pontius Pilate, probably, right?
James?
I don't know who he was unalived by, but it was in the 60s.
Pontius Pilate died in 39, so
he's 39, yeah.
Yeah.
In the 60s, who was ruling in the 60s?
What? Then you didn't read the passage at all. It's Ananus ben Ananus who puts him to death. It literally says that. It literally says that in the sentence you were trying to quote.
I don't know. I just got the. I didn't know. I didn't get it at all, did you? I didn't get that real text. I just got something else.
Yeah, you just got like an AI overview, and you decided I'm going to come back up here and present my ass again.
Not even AI. I was just doing
not
Google
even AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't read anything. You just kind of read like a Google result.
Nah, yeah.
And you felt like presenting your ass again, based off of that.
Presenting your ass is fucking crazy, yo.
I mean, Jesus says to turn the other cheek. That's what you're doing. I'm getting the other side. No child left behind. I'm getting the right now.
Man. Disrespectful as fuck for no reason, man.
Well, you don't have any evidence, and you came back up here full chest of confidence like you did have evidence. And you didn't even read it. You didn't even read the sentence, let alone the paragraph. I mean, I'm respectful enough to bring you back up here, but if you're not even respectful enough to the host to show up on my live and not even read a sentence that you're going to try to use as proof for your religion, that's disrespectful as fuck.
When did I say it was my religion?
Respect the fact that I base my arguments off of evidence and support, which is what I've done this entire time that you've been up here. All right. Respect the fact that I actually know my shit and come prepared. You're disrespecting me. I brought you back up here because I thought that maybe, just maybe, you might have something. And you didn't even read a sentence. You couldn't even be bothered to read a sentence. Talk about disrespect. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, all right. Fuck you too.
Sounds good. Tell your mom to wear something nice tonight, okay? All right. Let's see. There's $2 there from Dionysian Mass says Christ is a lie that makes you stupid. That's pretty on the nose. All right. I'm going to move on. We've got somebody coming up. This person has evidence for Jesus or Paul. I can feel it in my left testicle. Irandon. Or surely I'm not pronouncing that right.
Hello.
Is it Irandon or Rondon?
That's right. You did good.
I said
Irandon,
two
you
different.
did it right.
Oh, Irandon. Okay.
Irandon is right.
Sounds good. Well, Irandon, what you got for us, Irandon?
Well, Jesus and Paul, they owe me $5, so they're real.
Jesus owes you $5?
Yes, he does. I'm really old.
You're really old.
Yeah, been there. 2,000 years old. He still hasn't paid me up.
You sound 30.
Just having fun with you. You're doing good work. Thank you.
Any questions while you're up here?
No. Hey, actually one. I am a proponent of the Cathars. Do you know anything about them?
Like the Catholic group?
No. The Cathars were cool. You'd love them. They were Gnostic, and they're kind of like a Buddhist crossed with a Christian. They were killed off by the Catholic Church, unfortunately. Their last stronghold was in France.
Cathars, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, they thrived in southern France in Western Europe during the 12th and 13th century. I've heard of them. Quasi-dualist and pseudo-Gnostic group. Yeah. So they branched from Roman Catholic. So yeah, I knew about like the Catholic group, but like, I mean, their connections to Catholicism, but I didn't know too terribly much about them. But anyways, do you think that Jesus or Paul existed 2,000 years ago?
I think they certainly could have. I mean, there's enough people who believe in them. I don't think, I think Jesus wanted to start religion. I don't think he wanted that religion to be Christianity. I don't believe in Paul, though.
So
I mean, Paul didn't ever meet Jesus, correct?
So correct, even in the story. But how did? How much is enough people to believe in something before you believe that it's true?
That's a great question. That is a really good question.
Because there's 20 million people
legends are
that
based
think that
on
this
something.
book right here.
I mean, we have Santa.
This is the
Which
Book
way
of
is
Mormon.
that? The Bible?
No, this is the Book of
Book of
Mormon.
Mormon. Oh God.
There's 20 million people that believe that.
That's you raised a good point with that. That's really scary. Yeah, that's remarkably bad, the Book of Mormon. I just do not know. Well, you and I could make up a religion and we could get followers by the end of the day.
Well, I'm not necessarily into that, mostly because I want people to believe as many true things as possible and stop believing as many false things as possible. And considering the fact that just because a lot of people believe something, that doesn't make it true, I think that people should look into it a little further than just, oh, hey, the argumentum ad populum.
I think you're right. I thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you. That was Irandon, everybody. Irandon. All right. Let's see. Jerry Knights. Nope. Oh, praise the Wingle. Nope. 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 Is that a lope nope? Yeah, that's a lope nope. It's already started on TikTok. Terrible. 20 million? Okay, I'm a believer. All right. Let's see. Amen from a straying Mormon. A recovering Mormon, I believe they call it. What's going on? The real Skeptic Frog, as opposed to the fake Skeptic Frog that I'm a little wary of. Go ahead.
I have a question. So I started Nailed by Fitzgerald, and then I went to a
Let's
rabbit
try
hole.
that sentence again. I didn't understand a word of it.
Oh, sorry. I started Nailed by
Nailed from David Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And and then like I was like curious about something. Like I realized like the gospel, like, so as in your book you talk about like how the Marcionites wrote like Evangelion, but the Marcionites were kind of like a agnostic sect, right? They didn't think like they thought like Yahweh was a piece of shit, and that the real God was going to sacrifice his son in order to pay to Yahweh like redemption or something like this, right? Kind of. So it's not it was kind of a Gnostic sect because I think Yahweh
kind of
was bad.
I would think that. So Gnostic is an umbrella term that basically means anything that's not Catholic or proto-Catholic.
Yeah,
and so,
but I mean, like,
yeah, it starts the whole movement. He's the the founder of this like text-based portion of the religion, the story of Jesus, that kind of thing. So, like, yeah, it's Gnostic, or like, you could say it's a Gnostic sect, but that's only because it's the first one he's the first one to come out with it, and he wasn't Catholic.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, also, like, so I checked on in Josephus, it talks about like John the Baptist being like being real.
Okay.
Right. And so I was digging a little bit, and it seems like John the Baptist was like this sect, Gnostic sect. I think the Madians.
The Mandeans? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, the Mandeans are the followers of John the Baptist, supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like it's also a Gnostic sect, right? That they also.
I mean, yeah, sure.
They also think Yahweh is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's almost like a bunch of people back then were like, "Yeah, this guy sucks," and the proto-Catholics
I mean,
were
like,
"This guy rocks," and they ended up winning.
Yeah, if you read the. So my question is that like so did like the author of Matthew, Luke, and John came in and just said like, "Hey, we need to stop like those Gnostic guy from developing their belief and try to like just like suffocate them with fake scripture." Is that okay? Something that makes sense to you?
I didn't hear that, or I heard that last part. I just can't.
Okay,
I
Matthew. Sorry, it's my fault. My accent is very strong.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Sounds like you're from Canada, either that or New Orleans.
No, I'm French. I'm French.
I refuse to believe that. I assume that you're from Canada or Louisiana.
No, I'm French, and I live in Washington State.
Washington State. Oh, okay, that's close to Canada. We'll go with Canada.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know because I try to avoid to pass a border right now.
Regardless, anything north of the Mason-Dixon is Canada, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, what you got?
Okay, so yeah, so like the question is like, do you think that the authors of Matthew, Luke, and John were just trying to suffocate the Gnostic movements, the multiple Gnostic movements of stuff?
Yeah, they're trying to more or less say that these that these groups are bad. You shouldn't listen to them, that kind of thing, and refute the Marcionite text, a lot of Gnostic texts, and try to bring it back over towards Catholicism.
And so, like those authors, like so they write in Greek.
Yeah, all
but
of them.
what would be like the interest for them, like to suffocate those in order to save the image of Hebrew God? Why would they do that? Like to save like a God that's not from their area?
I'm not really following.
Yeah, so like most of them, like they from Turkey, they're from like
Turkey.
all this area,
Okay.
right? Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But then like, do they like so they're like most likely like from the Greek side of the Roman Empire, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then they just like advocate for a god that's from Judea
I mean, kind of.
and
Yeah.
Galilee.
I mean, Judaism made up about 10% of the Roman Empire back then.
Yeah, but like they were like pretty much localized in the area of like they were not like Judaism was there were not a lot of Hebrews or Jews like outside of the limit of Galilee, Judea, and everything, no? Were they like spread in the where the Judaism spread in the Roman Empire or
Yeah.
localized to the Middle East?
No, it was spread all over the place. There were Jews in definitely different places. There's Jews in Rome.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go keep digging.
Okay.
I kind of like I blame you for that because I have ADHD, so I hyper focus on. I read your book and now like I'm like about like the full Josephus, the full Tacitus, the full, and I'm like 20 books behind now. So
makes sense. Makes
yeah.
sense. By the way, just as a quick question, how do you say seal in French?
Yeah, fuck.
Oh, there it is. That's really the only thing I know. So a sick seal would be a sick fuck?
No, yeah, fuck malade, but yeah, like,
all right.
yeah, it's like, I mean, like you have like this sketch about like because like we used to watch a lot of American movies in the 80s and 90s, and so like we have this comedian trio that used to make like those fake trailers and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like and all the stuff was like Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and they're like, oh fuck, and all the subtitles are like very nice words, like, oh my friend, my
oh nice.
And then at the end he said like, oh, do you know what this is? And he showed like a seal picture and said, oh, that's a fuck. And then the subtitle is like, oh, this bastard. Yeah. Anyway. Cool. Thank you so much for your time, man. Sorry for my accent.
Hey, not a problem. Not a problem.
No, but I mean, like, it makes everybody laugh in the in the comments. So like, and for me, ant is for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Or as they say, au revoir.
Yeah, I'll be back with other questions when I get some more. Thank you.
Thanks. That was the real Skeptic Frog. If you see anybody else who's a Skeptic Frog, that person is a fake. Either that or not speaking French. Let's see. Merci. Yeah. Anybody who pronounces R's with the throat, though. You know what I mean? It's like, ha. It's fun. All right. I tried to bring up, somebody requested up and I tried to bring him up. I don't know what was going on there. If you want to try it again there, you can. That was David Kukura or something. David Kukura. If you wanted to come up, you can. Just request back up. Should be able to bring you up. I roll my R's. I bet you do, Mike. There's probably plenty of things that you do with your R's. Anyways, if you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Come on up. I want to hear from you. Is it hard? I don't even know what that means. Oh, he's the hard R. Okay, nice. What hard to say?
I am so sick of your racism. We speak English in Canada. Yes, there's a bunch of
I didn't even. That was just a mod. That was a mod.
Mod, stop muting me. We speak English in this country.
I mean,
did you hear I said there's a bunch of frogs up in Quebec, but that's like a minority of this country.
So you're racist against a minority. That's terrible.
What?
I picked a majority to be racist.
I'm not being racist.
I'm punching
I'm just
up.
stating a fact.
I'm punching up. You're over there punching down at Quebecians.
Yeah, just
or whatever
because
they call
we're
themselves.
north of you. That's all the only reason you're punching
Yeah,
up.
I punch up because of the compass.
You know, I learned that we are living in poverty up here now. I didn't realize this, but
is that French for cold?
It's normal English.
I mean, is it?
Yeah, poverty. It means we're poor. I was watching a video. I don't know if this is true. I didn't fact check it, but apparently in Ontario, which is the richest province, we are still more poor than Mississippi, which is the poorest state.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
I don't know how that works, but I feel like I live quite a privileged life, but apparently I'm poor. So that being said, what I learned something about the empty tomb the other day.
Oh God.
Happy birthday, Queen Laquifa.
Oh wow. Okay, so the average gross salary for US is roughly $6,228 per month. That's the average salary in the US. Adjusted from Canadian dollars to US, the average Canadian makes about $4,013.
We're poor.
That's a 33% drop.
And I think we must be taxed more. I mean, I know that taxes vary in your country. I'm sure they do here too, but like Ontario, we're really highly taxed.
Yeah, but like you guys get things out of your taxes, so I'm not really considering that to be too much of an issue. But to be fair though, usually maybe, I don't know. Like how much do we pay for average cost of healthcare in US per month? Okay. Oh wow. Okay, so it doesn't make up for that 2,000, not usually.
Yeah, and our healthcare is can be a little bit of bullshit because there's a backlog, so we don't really get like the best service. Like you guys get like because it's privatized, you guys get like customer service because we're
yeah,
public.
Because we pay for it, and it depends on where you're at. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're fucked. If you're in a city, you could probably get to it pretty quick, but you're going to have to pay through the nose.
Yeah, ours is like free, but good luck getting a procedure done when you need it. Like you're going to get it done in the next 6 months or to a year.
Sounds like you need more taxes.
Yeah, we gotta get more doctors and nurses and surgeons and all this stuff because it takes forever. But anyway,
well, it's probably because all the doctors are headed down to America because they're like, I can get rich off of that.
That's true. That's true.
If we flipped it to universal health care, I'd imagine that they probably wouldn't run to America as much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I think we have doctors. It's just that like there's too many people that are sick. So, you know,
too many people and not enough doctors. Got it.
And not enough staff, and then it takes forever to do anything. And yeah, I think the system's a bit broken. But anyway, I don't know if that's the prompt today. Is like what's going on.
The prompt
with Canadian
is either
healthcare.
Jesus or Paul never existed, and also let's shit on Canada. That's the idea.
Well,
have you considered serious question? Have you ever considered just moving to the United States?
You know, when I was younger, I did because I was like, I'm gonna go become famous in LA, and I just never had the balls to do it. So now, I mean, yeah, maybe like I would have to have a good reason. I feel like I would probably move to Spain first or some sort of tropical country that
Probably
I never
France,
have.
because they speak the same language. But down here in America,
You son of a bitch!
if you picked a particular state, what state do you feel like you would probably? And don't pick one that's like next to you. That's bush league.
Well, I would definitely want to go to California because I want to become famous, and I want to be in a warm state. And I heard of too many stories about Florida, so I know that it's ridiculous. Everybody's insane there.
Texas
So
is on the verge, this close. Texas currently right now, there are 2 senators from each state. Currently right now in the Senate race for one of those seats this year, a Democrat is leading. So the left-leaning person is leading the right-leaning person. So that's, improvement. And the most recent poll on the governor had the Democrat only 1% behind the Republican. There's an actual chance that Texas may turn blue. We may just get a governor in Texas that's actually left leaning.
that would surprise everybody, wouldn't it? That's you just don't think that the Cowboys are gonna start, caring about anything.
I think the only thing that would make all of this better is, obviously the senator winning, the left-leaning governor winning, and then also the Cowboys just leaving. Just go. just go. Just go somewhere else. Take the Texans with you. Go. See you later. Bye. We don't need any NFL.
Take all your herds. Take the herds with you. Your herds of cows.
I'm specifically talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the football team.
Oh yeah. Really?
Who, by the way, do not own cows.
Boy, their sports playing is subpar, and isn't as good as the other ones. I don't know. Is that true? I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
They don't do what the other ones do on the court.
Yeah.
Them Cowboys.
You're a big Toronto Argonauts fan, aren't you?
Oh my goodness, I love the Toronto team. All of them, the Mighty Ducks. Are they Toronto?
No.
The Leaves. I know there's Leaves.
The Maple Leafs. Yes.
The Birds.
The Blue Jays?
Yep, the Birds.
What sport do they play?
Bluebirds. The one with the it's like something that you throw or hit or catch or shoot or something. Yeah.
Shoot.
You get it in a basket or a net or a field or a home. I don't know. It's probably lacrosse, some fucking French sport.
One of the mission trips that I went to, where I spread the good news of Jesus Christ up to your country, was actually in. Because you heathens up there,
We got to go to Canada, where all the non-Christians are. We got to go to the developing nation of Canada and dig a well. Why don't you go to Michigan first?
Maybe this will entice the doctors. So we went up to Vancouver, actually. So not near you, but still Canada. And I found that instead of football, the local high school team in the city that I stayed at played ultimate.
Frisbee?
Yeah. Well, disc, I guess, whatever. But still.
Really?
That's what they played. As
that was their sport was ultimate Frisbee. No joke.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Come on, Canada. Why are you such a fucking hick town? That's embarrassing.
I mean, that's not hick. That's like hippie.
Yeah, that's it's just something kids do in high school, isn't it? It's not like a real sport.
I mean, it's a real sport. It's just not professionally played. But neither is volleyball. I mean, I guess maybe they play it professionally somewhere, but I mean,
volleyball. I thought there's professional volleyballers.
There's actually a local near me, a professional lacrosse team.
Yeah, I've heard of that. There's a.
I've never gone. There's
would
also
you? Why
a
would
like
you?
there used to be at least a lingerie football league near me.
Yep.
I
Those
never went to
boys
those
must
either.
look beautiful
Oh,
in
absolutely.
their underwire bras. Hey, do you want to talk about the I have
Yeah.
a
What'd you got?
an apologetic for the empty tomb.
Okay.
So, in the Bible, it says that the tomb and the place where Jesus was crucified was outside of the city walls, like the city, a little bit outside the city.
Okay.
And that the tomb of the Holy Sepulchre or whatever, the tomb there is inside the city walls
Okay.
because the city walls were moved, or like the city was expanded in like 44 or something. Do you know about this?
I mean,
Have you seen this?
I know that the city walls were expanded. Yeah, there's been multiple times that they've been expanded, but what is the argument here?
The argument is that the writers of the Gospels knew that when Jesus had died, the city walls were at a different location, which means they must have known what was going on when Jesus actually died. So this is this is like, how like you do a lot of anachronisms? This is like a non-anachronism. This is them knowing that the city walls used to be in more. So they must have had some sort of understanding of the landscape of Jerusalem around the time when Jesus was supposed to have existed.
So, okay, give me 1 second here. So you're saying that it says it says that it's outside the walls.
Yeah. So when Jesus was crucified and buried, it would have been outside of the city. But where they all point to say, like, this is where Golgotha is or whatever, or where the Holy Sepulchre is inside the city. So if they were making it up later and didn't really understand Jerusalem and stuff, they would have been like, it was just inside the city walls, right? They would have thought that that was where it was, because they were like pointing to.
So, really quick, it doesn't say that in the Gospels. It doesn't say it's outside the walls. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know where that is. So John says there's a garden at the place where he was crucified. And they do say that there's a new tomb that was carved into rock. And John says the crucifixion was near the city, whatever the hell that means.
Right, not in the city.
I guess, but that.
Yeah. The wall thing is just like me like saying it in probably an incorrect way. I'm saying that it was outside of the city, but when they go, oh, where's Jesus' tomb? Where's the whatever? It's inside the city because they moved the walls.
At what point?
In 44. That's why it's like, if they were writing in the 2nd century and these people were so confused about rabbis and everything, how did they know that those walls had moved?
Well, if they're writing afterwards, they would know that the walls have been moved.
Well, then why did they make such stupid errors about like the rabbi thing and stuff like that? I feel like I'm
confused. Like, what do you? What?
My argument is that the people that wrote the Gospels knew where the tomb was and where the empty tomb was and where the crucifixion happened.
Because John just says it's outside of the city.
Yeah, because it was at the time outside of the city. Then the city walls moved, and so the story still checks out because now it's inside the city. But they wrote it correctly because it
you're
had
saying just
been.
like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre just happens to be in that spot.
Now it's inside of the city walls, but at the time it was on the outside. So the Gospels are accurate. and the change happened in 40, but these guys still, I guess they may have just had a like, they may have known like the development of Jerusalem, and they would have known that it was that the walls moved or whatever. But I'm saying that they nailed it. They nailed that part. Am I not explaining this properly?
I mean, I guess, but it's not really, like, in all honesty, it's not really much of a. It's not really much of it. Like, in other words, it says that he was crucified outside the city, and then later on, someone picked, well, the mother of Constantine, really, in the 4th century, they picked that particular place as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and they said that's where Jesus was crucified or born, or not born, crucified and buried. All right, and it's like, okay, that's fine. And someone later on said, oh, while that's inside the walls now, it was outside the walls then.
Well, yeah, because historically the walls moved.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's
what
just
do you
post
do?
hoc rationalization. They're just realizing that that's not, that it's fine. They're realizing that it's okay. That's not indicating anything about,
It's
like,
hard
whether
to
or not that was the
know
real
for
place.
sure. Yeah, it's hard to know for sure exactly.
It's not
how this
really
happened,
hard to know for sure. It's just kind of that's not even where the Protestants think he was buried in the first place. So it doesn't really.
They don't matter. They don't matter. So we know where Jesus was buried because Eusebius said that, like, the reason why Emperor Hadrian covered it over was to upset the Christians because they were too obsessed with the tomb there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was the one that was like, oh, it's like him and the Constantine's mom were like, oh, it's something over there. That's where all the Christians know. That was what Eusebius writes, right? He goes, the Christians knew where it was. They pointed it out. It's like the tomb is over there under that temple. And then they dug there. And then, of course, it was there because they knew where it was. Have you never heard that story?
I mean, I know of, like, what later Christians were trying to say as far as the tomb goes, but, like, that doesn't.
Well, Eusebius says that. That's where they, like, apparently he says that in 325, and he's the one that recounts that in 135 or whatever it was, or yeah, I think it was like 135. The Hadrian had, like, filled that in.
Okay. Like, there's no evidence of this. It's just they're saying.
Well,
the reason why they're saying this is because. Well, the reason Eusebius is saying it is because they knew that something was there prior. Like, he didn't. What kind of resource would he have from 135 that says that they covered over that?
Well, that was when Emperor Hadrian built the temple there to Venus or
yeah, there's a temple of
Jupiter
Venus that's there, or that was there in the 4th century.
Yeah, but
they temple of Venus. So, like, later on, they just said, "Oh, hey, they just put that there because, like, no one identified it." Here's the problem: no one identified that spot as the place that Jesus was born, or Jesus was buried or crucified until the 4th century. And Eusebius, again, in the 4th century, said that it had been, there was a temple of Venus that was put over it. But
yeah, and
no one had even
claimed
claimed that was where it was.
And he claims that the reason why the temple was put over it was to like upset the Christians. Yeah, because their Christians were obsessed with it. And so Emperor Hadrian was like, let's shut these people down and let's build that, like, fill in the tomb and all that stuff and build over whatever was there and just have this temple. The problem, of course, is that only Eusebius says that, and I think there's other records that show that Emperor Hadrian did that to upset the Jews because they were kind of like rebuilding Jerusalem with all sorts of pagan gods and stuff like that, worshiping all sorts of Roman gods or whatever. in order to upset the Jewish people. So
Yeah.
there's no, that's
So-
just Eusebius making up a story, I think.
It's Eusebius making up a story to explain why they picked a place where there was already something there. That's the issue. And the real reason why they probably picked something there was because at that point they were looking to possibly turn it into something else, turn it into something Christian, because Constantine's mother, again, was a Christian. So pointing to some building that was already there and just saying, oh, hey, let's now repurpose this for the purpose of Jesus as opposed to just Venus, that would make it a lot easier as opposed to building a new temple. Now, that being said, very clearly, not even the Christians all agree upon that being where Jesus is buried, because there's 2 other tombs, including the one that the Protestants like, which is the Garden Tomb, which, believe it or not, is even further out, and it's still further out, and it's still outside of the walls.
Yeah, that one. I think they somebody did some science on that and learned that it had been dug out in the 7th or the 8th or 9th century, like that had been built or whatever, however you would say that. So I think that the Holy Sepulchre is the best option, but this would be my counter apologetic, and that is that the story that Eusebius tells, you've said it, and that, so I stole this from you. Obviously, Eusebius was a no, maybe not a chronic liar, but somebody that made shit up for the sake of the church.
That even scholars today question his motivations, his bias, and his accuracy. Yeah.
So he was creating stories, pious stories, in order to. Sorry about that. In order to push forward whatever the church's lore. So he could have easily made up this story of why Hadrian covered it over, and then they happened to find a tomb there because there was tombs all over the place. This is the thing that is shocking to me, and this is a bit of an argument from silence, and people say lack of evidence isn't evidence of what is it? Evidence of absence, that whole thing. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of it. But I think it is, because if you consider Peter going to the tomb, he knows where the tomb is. All the disciples know where the tomb is. This is a place where the most miraculous thing of all time ever happened, and they misplace it. Nobody goes to the tomb. Nobody decorates the tomb. Nobody spends any time going venerating the tomb. Now they do. As soon as they were hey, this is the tomb, people go to the tomb constantly, right? That's a pilgrimage.
It's like a tourist
But in
trap,
right, but in the first 300 years, immediately after the resurrection, none of those Christians gave a shit about the tomb. Are you kidding me? And it was a point of evidence in the Gospels. They were going hey, this is how we know that Jesus rose. There was a helicopter that went over. This is how we know that Jesus rose. There was this tomb here and it's empty, and no one goes to it. And then in 325, they're yeah, that's the tomb, by the way. We sort of lost sight of it, but it's back. That doesn't seem reasonable to me.
So there is a story from, what is his name? God damn it. It's going to piss me off that I can't. Let's see. So there is a writer. He's a Christian. I don't think it was Melito of Sardis. I don't think that was him. So there is a Christian that gives an account of going to Jerusalem, going to the it may have been Melito of Sardis. He takes a journey over to Jerusalem to try to and he explains his journey, he explains where he stops, that kind of stuff. And what he ends up
This is in
doing,
160?
Yeah, it's in the middle of the 2nd century. But he ends up explaining there. I think he ends up mentioning some shit that would make it kind of damning. Like he ends up mentioning like the porticos and everything like that. Like he ends up mentioning some things from John 5 that wouldn't make a lot of sense during Jesus's time. He ends up like basically admitting to some anachronisms like unwillingly or unknowingly. But nevertheless, there are people that go down there. He doesn't say anything about like going to a tomb though. That's what it's the Pilgrim of Bordeaux. That's what it is.
Oh,
that's
there is a tomb mentioned.
Sorry,
by
I don't
that
know
Sardis
why I mentioned
when I
it.
was
It's the
looking.
4th century. It's the 4th century. Not I don't know why I thought it was in the 2nd. No, it's the 4th century. So
Let me
it's
see
around
if
the
I
time.
can hold on a second.
It's the Bordeaux Pilgrim or the Pilgrim of Bordeaux. He may mention the tomb, but it's in the 4th century. But he goes into quite a bit of detail as to what the trip was like. Like he says, like, okay, there's this long, this far, and then he even mentions like how many times he has to like stop and like change clothes, basically, or like stop and rest, that kind of thing. And then finally, if you pass by all these different places where he has to stop, finally he gets into Jerusalem. So he goes in, going 28 miles from there to Jerusalem. In the left part is a village. So he starts explaining it in here. There is Jerusalem, 12 miles.
Oh yeah, so the Sardis thing, I get it. Yeah, but he doesn't mention the tomb.
Yeah, Sardis doesn't, but the Pilgrim of Bordeaux, I believe he might.
So the reason why Sardis is significant is because he kind of gives the idea of where the burial and the crucifixion would be, and it's in the middle of the city, which is in the middle of the city now, but at the time the wall was in a different place. The city was smaller.
He does not mention, by the way, in the Pilgrimage of Bordeaux, he does not mention seeing the tomb.
Okay, so the Sardis thing is just a poem. I wouldn't put any stock into that. That's a separate poem. That's a separate thing. So he's kind of just like, he's using the middle of the city. It's not a geographical location. It's more of an idea of like in front of everybody. You got crucified in the middle of the city. So like I wouldn't take that as any sort of coordinates. But yeah, if they're not mentioning the tomb, like no one's interested. Paul's not interested in the tomb. He's not talking about the tomb in any meaningful way.
Oh
right?
no, he does. He does talk about, by the way, here. It's not very indicative.
Not in the creed, but where does he? Oh, no, you're talking about the guy again, Bordeaux.
Yeah, Bordeaux. He says, let's see. In the 7 synagogues which were there, only one remains, but the rest are plowed over and seated, just as Isaiah the prophet said. There, as you go outside the wall of Zion, this is again 4th century, so 333, along to the Neapolitan gate. On the right-hand side, down in the valley, there are walls where the house was, or the praetorium of Pontius Pilate. Let's see. There, the Lord was tried before he suffered. I have no idea why they think that he was tried in his house, but okay. On the left-hand side is the little hill of Golgotha, where the Lord was crucified. Okay.
On the left hand, is that on the outside? For some reason, I'm picturing on the left hand would be on the outside of the wall.
Any kind of map that includes a supposed.
In the 4th century, unless they're talking about like the like in just on the inside, but I don't think that would be.
So if we take a look at a map trying to figure out where Pilate would have potentially lived here.
I mean, to say to the left is a little weird, right? Like, which way are you facing?
Yeah, I mean it's really silly. Like the whole thing is just dumb because no one knows where it's at, and so it just ends up stupid. So here is supposedly where like the Praetorium could potentially be. This says Palace of Herod the Great on this particular map. Then you go up, here's like Golgotha, ? Traditional. Like, and then here's another Golgotha, which is considered Gordon's Calvary. Like, they don't know. If these explanations were actually beneficial whatsoever, then Christians today would know where these things actually are, but they don't, because the explanations are terrible. Because even in the 4th century, when they started actually caring about where these things were, because prior to that, we don't have any evidence that anybody gives a shit or knew anything. Even in the 4th century, they're just kind of pointing at random shit and saying, that's where I think it is. That's where I think it is. That kind of stuff. Back to this thing, it says, about a stone's throw from there is the crypt where his body was buried, and on the 3rd day he rose. A stone's throw from Golgotha, I guess?
Yeah.
Which is on the left-hand side from the Praetorium? Okay. Like, what?
Yeah.
It says, at the
but
same
this
place on the
is-
command of Emperor Constantine, a basilica was built. That is a church. So, I mean, this is realistically the reason why he says that there's, and hopefully people can see that. Hopefully, let me see if I can zoom in here. But this is why people say, or this is why the Pilgrim of Bordeaux is saying what he's saying. Because he says, here's the crypt where his body was buried. At the same place on the command of Emperor Constantine, who was around a little prior to this being written, a basilica was built. That is a church of marvelous beauty. So, I mean...
Is that the Holy Sepulchre?
Yeah. Yeah, this would be the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So, in other words, he's only saying that's the tomb because they've already established it in the early
As
4th
the
century, just a few
place.
years before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that really calls into question this, because it says the little hill of Golgotha, but like, how did you determine that? It's just close to the place that you here a few years before said this is where Jesus was buried.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
just
ridiculous.
pointing to
You-
shit. But I
if-
will
if-
admit that your initial, not in your argument, but I guess what you had heard, the apologetic you had heard, like, I will admit that I mean, that doesn't, it would make sense if I was like making the argument that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre couldn't be the place where Jesus was buried or something. But I mean, I don't really ever say that, or I don't know of really anybody who says it couldn't be the place. But that's like a Catholic apologetic to try to explain that it's potential, like it could be, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, my whole point, I was just researching this for something I'm working on, and like I was just kind of exploring through of course AI, but and trying to like get my head around what they know and what they don't know. And I was just surprised that they kind of say that the crucifixion and the tomb were outside the city walls, and then they moved the city walls. And that was the part where I was just like, well, then they must have known that. And I still think they must have like got that part right, unless they just said it was outside the current city walls and they just don't have a specific place in mind. Because like in my mind, it's like, if you're going to make this fiction and you're putting in all this effort, at least have an idea of where you're thinking he was buried, you know?
Yeah.
Like at least be like, there's a bit of a, some tombs over there. We'll just say it was over there. But the more I looked into it, the thing that really stood out to me is that whole like Constantine's mom thing and Eusebius, and how that's kind of retconned, right? Like they just want to create a story for, like, they want to find the tomb. They want to point out the tomb. And the fact that no one knew where it was for 300 years almost is insane to me. Like, knowing how Christians act, it's just insane. That's the real, like, there's something that's not true here. And of course, as a mythicist, you're like, well, Jesus didn't even exist. But even if he did exist, he was never in a tomb, right? Like, there's no tomb. If there was a tomb, they would know where it is.
I think the biggest problem is the fact that, again, he didn't exist, but they're writing these stories outside of the area. And then when they're having to go over there and try to find shit and point to it, they're like,
no one knows where this stuff is because it was a fiction.
But like you could maybe sort of kind of go over and make shit work. Like on the left-hand side, there's a little hill, and a stone's throw away is where all you got to do is realistically go out and find where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre had been placed just a few years before, and then look for a hill.
Yeah.
That's all you had. That's literally all you had to do. He didn't show that they had any kind of concept of where Golgotha was, which is why we don't like. And if this was reliable, then we'd know where it was, and we wouldn't today be going, is that Golgotha? Is that Golgotha? Is that the tomb?
Yeah. I mean, to where they believe their church says it was, like that is true. But we don't have, I think the headline is, we don't have an empty tomb. When they say we've got the empty tomb, we don't have the empty tomb. We never had the empty tomb. There's no empty tomb. No one can claim an empty tomb. All that we can claim is you guys are pointing to, like, we have the house of Rebecca, by the way, from the Old Testament. Like the Jewish people, they were like, oh, this is where they know it's not, but they're like, this is the thing that represents where Rebecca lived. We don't have an empty tomb. We just have a relic,
Something interesting. This is kind of what I had talked about a little bit. This is in that Pilgrim of Bordeaux text. This sounds extremely similar to John 5. In fact, if we go to let's go to the New King James. Here we go. If we go to John 5, what it says, that now in Jerusalem by the sheep gate there is a pool called in Hebrew Bezatha, or Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many ill, blind, lame, and paralyzed people. All right, that's what it says here. In the Pilgrim of Bordeaux, it says, damn it, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. There are in Jerusalem 2 big pools to the side of the temple, that is, one to the right, one to the left, which Solomon has made. But inside the site there are 2 twin pools with 5 porches, which are called Bethesda. There those who have been sick for many years have been healed. So it is incredibly obvious that, like, a lot of what they are saying is just kind of shit that they pull from the text itself, as opposed to anything that they're really seeing. They may see some remnants of archaeological sites or walls or something, but at the end of the day, this is still a theological or theologically motivated text, as opposed to like an actual person who's saying, I'm going to log everything here. I mean,
it's not very important to get the geography right, or the architecture.
It's really silly because it mentions the pools, but then it mentions the 5 porches in 333. What? Like,
I can't remember where. Like,
what?
What is the rule? Like, what happened there? Because there was a like healing pool place with the 5 porticos. Was that after, or because there was another one that was like that they just like built over it? What's the story there again?
So there's a pool, and the pool there it was outside of the walls. It was brought in during the time of Herod. At some point in time, it depends on which Herod. Some people have even said that it's brought in, like, for instance, this map here. This map here, which is brought to you by the Bible Archaeology Report. So it's a Christian website. And they say that the Pool of Bethesda, let's see here, is right here. And you see these walls here. Those are, according to this map, added in 42.
Right.
So these walls were added in 42 is what it says. So this would have been brought into Jerusalem like after Jesus. But it says that they're in Jerusalem by the sheep gate and everything like that, which
But there
doesn't make any
was,
sense. But even
like-
if that was the case, the porticos that are placed there would not have survived the siege of Jerusalem in 70. So the
Right.
fact that John is written after 70 and is talking about something that is placed there after 70 is talking, I mean, it shows that it doesn't make any sense. It's not something that Jesus would have gone to. And when it says here, there those who have been sick for many years have been healed. These pools have water which becomes scarlet when disturbed. So it's actually going into detail as to the pools now. There's probably some kind of like mineral in them or something like that. Because, I mean, it's a naturally occurring spring anyways. But the point is, it's very clearly a pool that is being utilized for the purpose of non-Jewish, non-religious activities like the Asclepian.
Right. Yeah, anachronisms on anachronisms, and yeah, I just was wanting to bug you about that tomb, the 40 thing, the 44 thing. But all right, well, thanks for that, and I'm gonna let you talk to this next guy.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. That was Joel Reed's Bible, who is
Thank you.
probably going to be going live later today, is what I'm guessing. Oh, he left. No idea. Check it out in the comments. All right. Sathium.
Hey, what's up, man? Good
Hey.
to see you.
What you got, man?
I just wanted to know about Polycarp. I was an argument. I don't know anything about this, and I've spoken to you once, long time ago, maybe a year ago. But yeah, love your stuff. Keep going. But yeah, would love to know
Thank you.
why
Like,
Polycarp.
what about him?
So they were saying that we know Jesus existed because Polycarp is mentioned, and other church fathers also refer
We
to
know
his
Jesus
writings
is what?
exists because of Polycarp. Polycarp is directly, like I think refers to Jesus as being like taught by him or either by his disciples. I think or his
Polycarp?
apostles. Something.
No. So Irenaeus, who's writing in 180 to 185, says that he is the student of Polycarp, who died sometime between either 155 or 167, according to Christians. But Irenaeus said that Polycarp was a hearer of John, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, and that's
so,
it.
I mean, okay, but Polycarp doesn't say that. It's just Irenaeus makes the claim that somebody else heard John. All right.
And it was so like Polycarp is first of all Polycarp is a real person.
I mean, as far as we can tell, sure. I mean, there's a contemporary who's talking about him, which would be Irenaeus.
Okay, and he just has a claim, or either not himself, but Irenaeus claims that Polycarp taught directly from the.
Irenaeus says that Polycarp heard from John. Yeah.
That's it, and beyond that, like it doesn't add to any degree of history.
Really. I mean, no.
What year was?
Because I mean, if say what?
What year was? Sorry, go ahead.
We don't really know when Polycarp was born. We don't really know much about his life at all. In fact, we get two conflicting dates as to when he died. There's 155 and there's 167. In fact, the 167 date says that Carpus died alongside someone named Papulus, which is most likely Papias, because Papias and Polycarp were both said to be people who were hearers of John or students of John or some shit like that.
Got you. Okay. I think that's all I have.
Or like early people.
One more question. I have one more question, but it just escaped me. But okay, yeah, that's all, man. Thank you so much. I just want to know if Polycarp had any validity, added any validity to any of these claims, and I guess not. So, yeah, thank you so much.
No, there's
yeah,
no. It other than just kind of like wishful thinking and just kind of building things off of building things off of faulty foundations. There's no evidence for this Jesus. Some people will come up and they'll say, oh, hey, what about this person? What about this person? But they've never actually looked into what that person says or how we know anything about that person or where we got that information. It's actually pretty bad usually.
But
I mean,
by this time was
go ahead.
By this time, Christianity was well established in that area. Is that accurate? By Polycarp's time, I mean.
By Polycarp, in what area?
In the area that he was, I assume he's also writing in Middle East near Jerusalem or in that.
Oh no, very few people wrote near Jerusalem at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there wasn't really much of a connection really between Christianity and the Middle East explicitly. It was more of an Asia Minor, like northern Egypt, Rome kind of thing.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a surprise that there's wherever he wrote that there are people already writing about it, because by this time this cult had become extant in that area, right? In that whole Middle East / Northern
Yeah,
Africa.
I mean there's already a group there. He's just continuing on this mythology story of Jesus and the disciples and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you, man. That's all. I just wanted to get your input on that. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, dude. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
See you guys. Bye.
Really quick, got to get to some super chats real fast, and I think some of them were sent while Joel was up here. $2 from Dionysian Masks. It says, Joel said it's Jaren's birthday, and he wouldn't lie. Well, he has lied. If he told you that it's my birthday, and I think he said it multiple times, he's lied more than once. So, even if one of those was the truth, one of them is a lie. So it's at least once. $1.99 from White Gold. Happy birthday, Joe and Jared. Jesus. Love you guys. $2 from 89 Wampas. That's interesting. On chapter 5 of your book. Also, hey, Joel. Well, thank you very much for grabbing a copy of the book. Go ahead. Christ Before Jesus right here. It is available. Yeah, check it out if you can. Somebody said on Reddit that I hold that book up every 10 minutes. This is actually the third time that I've held the book up, and I am now 3 hours in. So unless they think that 10 minutes is 1 hour, nah. Let's see. But hey, look, time is fun when you're having flies. $1.99 from Elope Nope says, Joel is our honorary maple queef. We love you. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'll take the love you on behalf of Joel. I don't even know if he's here anymore. $4.99 from Tracy, formerly Ianto, says, can you tell Joe L. I want his body? Thanks, King Queef. Oh, that's awful. And then, $5 there from Lewis ZX Me, who says, sup, brother, here on my lunch break eating a queef sandwich. Stop it. Get some help. All right. Oh, there's somebody else here. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
How long have you been waiting in the thing?
Like hours.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, so every once in a while, TikTok Studio does this weird thing where it like puts like recent guests, and then it'll have like everyone else, I guess. But recent guests, like I hardly ever check that little tab. So I guess you were sitting in there, because I think you were up not long ago.
Correct. Season 1, episode 3. You look good, and I like your hat.
Wow, thank you. Do I have a sound for that? I think so. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll go with that. Anyways, thank you very, very much. Thank you. You know what?
And then
Vice, she comes up here and actually gives compliments, as opposed to all the people there on YouTube who my friends are saying the Q word and the ops are saying I'm a douchebag. So, you know, I'm getting it from both ends. Don't look into that. AZ
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, that's yeah, this is awful.
And then outside of that, we are beefing, and I do have a genuine question.
Wait, we are beefing?
We are beefing.
Why? Why? What did I do? What did you do?
So, you let me
I did.
do my Sin Sunday. Hang on. You let me do my Sin Sunday at the exact time that you went on, and you didn't tell me, because I would have just come to your Bible libel instead.
No, I encouraged people to go to yours. It was at 8, right? Central?
No, 9 your time.
9 my time? No, it was 8 my time.
Mm-mm.
What?
Yeah, I go. Don't worry about it. And then I do have a genuine question.
Wait. What time was it Central?
9 Central.
I was saying it was like 7. Oh, maybe it's weird. Okay. Huh.
Oopsies.
That's weird. But anyways, no, well, I remember I had said that Bible Live was on Sunday night at 9, and then you came up later on that day and you said that your show was on there. And I'm not going to like publicly say, hey, that's my time. Like, no, like, in fact, I encourage people to go to yours.
I know, but I would have just gone after had I known that you'd be on.
Nah, you can go. It's fine. People, go to Vice. Support Vice. What are you doing supporting me? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about me? Go to Vice. If Vice is on at the same time as I am, go to Vice. That's how that works.
No, because then they'd miss Bible Libel, and I think that's more important.
Well, Bible
I think
Libel
that's
was
fun.
definitely fun. If you like Bible Libel, go to Bible Libel. But like, no, like if Jaren and Vice are on at the same time, go to Vice. That's the default that everybody should have.
Anyway, I do have a real question.
All right. So is the beef squashed or is it still on?
To be determined.
God be praised.
All right.
No, we're cool. But
hey, there it is. I have a sound for the beef being squashed. Yeah.
Sometimes when I wipe, I'll wipe and I'll wipe and I'll wipe and I'll wipe 100 times. Still poop. Let me check that. It's like I'm wiping a marker or something.
Anyways, what you got?
Okay. So, okay. Celsus or Celsus.
Celsus.
How do you say his name?
Yeah, well,
Celsus.
Celsus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that he spoke out of not against Christianity, but he didn't view it favorably, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was he?
Celsus is like, I don't think he's Jewish. I think he's like just a Roman writer who was not a fan of Christianity, apparently. We don't have anything directly from him. Our quotes of him come from Contra Celsum, which is a text written in about 240 from Origen, who is saying, hey, I'm responding or replying to things that Celsus had said about us in roughly about 170. And some of those things are pretty interesting, what he's saying. I mean, it's so far into it that like he can't confirm whether or not Jesus himself existed, but he does say at least at one point that the Christians had one gospel, and when people pointed out problems with it, they ended up saying, "Oh no, we've got multiple gospels now." So he's probably referring to Evangeline, to be honest. But he is writing at about 170 or so.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Just who he was, that kind of thing?
Yes, because I did not know who that fool was. I was looking through the Mythicist website, and I was going through it, and then I was like, who is this? Because I heard of pretty much everybody else. Yeah.
Surely he's got something. Yeah, he does mention Celsus. Okay, yeah. 170 to 180, something in there. Again, like I said, we don't we don't have really anything from the guy directly. A quote from him is, Jesus himself does not deny that these works are at least are not at all divine, but are the acts of wicked men. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, he's just writing like stuff against Christianity. That's all that he really is doing, according to Origin. That is.
Well, I appreciate you. I probably could have looked that up, but I was already here. So.
Oh no, well, it makes sense. Makes sense. Again, guys, make sure you're following Vice, and make sure that you are also checking out Vice whenever I'm live. If Vice is live and I'm live, you go to Vice, and also go get your beef, because the beef prices are low right now. That's all I'm saying. That's all that I am saying. Thanks for coming up, Vice. Thanks for coming up.
I can't with you. Thank you for having me.
Let's see. Quick check of the super chats. Let's $1.99 from the prototype 1619 says both ends indeed. Queefron. All right, and that's the 5th one today. Look at that. Look at that. It's a good number to end on, I'd suppose. $5 from Zeno Lapoudre that says she sits. Oh. This is not going to end well for me. She sits upon a velvet throne and plays a trumpet of her own. The Queen of Queefs, with royal flair, exhales a puff of gentle air. Happy B-Day, Queefy. You know what? You got me at the end, because technically, happy birthday, Dr. Jam. There we go. I guess I've got to kind of... That's 2, I guess. Fucking animal. All right. We do have this person here. This person here has one of the coolest voices that you will ever hear on TikTok. And I'm not just saying that. I've said it for well over a year. Well over a year.
Apparently, I can't argue with that. That's the deadline. You say it for a year. I can't argue with it. That's the rule.
That is the rule. That is the rule.
That is the rule. How are we doing, Jaren?
We are doing all right. We're hanging out here. It is Zeno's birthday. It's also Dr. Jim's birthday. We got all kinds of birthdays going on right now. So yeah, it's all over the place.
Loved Bible last night, by the way. Very funny.
Oh, well, thank you. That was a completely different Jaren than most people are used to seeing. I don't know.
I didn't
maybe
recognize
that
you without the cowboy hat. I didn't recognize you without the cowboy hat. It's very strange. I'm like, is this like his twin brother?
Oh yeah, it's my twin brother, Jaren, but with a G.
Your parents were unoriginal.
Well, yeah. They also.
How does that like? That'll probably get confusing if you were yelling at one of the other kids. Jaren, no, the one with the J. Damn it.
So, fun little trivia. Well, just a little bit. I don't know. It's not even really fun. It's not even really trivia. So there was a point in time, believe it or not, where I explained to my mom as a kid, for the first time in her adult life ever, really, that there was a way to spell the word Jeffrey with a G.
Oh yeah, like it's like Jeffrey Rush, who doesn't he play Barbosa in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Is it? Yes, it's Barbosa. Yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. His name is spelled with a G. Yeah, yes. It's like the old
like
English style, like Joffrey.
Yeah. Joffrey. Or something like that. Yeah.
Geoffrey.
So I knew about it because I played a game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and there's a guy named Jeff Rowley on there, and also in real life because it's real people. But Jeff Rowley is a skater, and he spells it like that. But the point is, my mom knew of somebody I was friends with named Jeffrey, and it was like something for his birthday or something. And she was like, "Okay, how do I write his name?" And I'm like, "G," and she looked at me like I was an idiot. I was like, "What?" And she's like, "It starts with G." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay." So she wrote a G, and then she's like, "Obviously E next." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, "And then an O." And
then
she was like,
"Whoa,
"There's
whoa,
no
whoa,
way
hold
that
on,
his
hold
name
on.
is Jeffrey." Yeah. At that point, she thought that I was just fucking with it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my partner's name is Ian, but it's not spelled with an I. You want to try to figure it out? You won't be able to. Ian with no I. Well, technically there's an I, it's just not the first letter.
Unless it's an E or like an I, like in like.
It starts with an E, yeah, because it's spelled in the Scots Gaelic way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Aaron almost got it. Aaron in the comments is very close. Very close. It's replace the A with an O.
Oh no.
Yes. E-I-O-N. His name is mainly vowels. Yep. That is the old Gaelic way of spelling it. You know what's also funny is that technically that name can be pronounced 3 different ways. Yeah.
One of the leaning ways, Jeffrey, actually.
Yeah. No. One of the leading ways is Jim. Believe it or not. No,
Yeah.
it's either Ian, Owen, or Ewan because they all have the same spelling. Yeah. It's so people joke and call him Ewan McGregor because he kind of looks like a younger Ewan McGregor. That's weird. That's very strange. But little update on my end, my little journey that I've been talking about. House will most likely be fully closed no later than Friday, in which case I will be sending in that bank statement with the money from the house to my immigration lawyer, which should only take a couple days. And then my visa is approved. I send the visa into the flat, and by next week, I will likely be in Glasgow.
That is an insane trip. Man.
You don't know the half of it, like how long it takes to actually fucking immigrate out of this fuckhole.
Well,
It's
America will miss you.
no, it won't. It'll miss my money.
Nah, it'll miss you. It'll miss you. It'll miss you.
It'll miss my money. Well, I'll still be around. I'm gonna be documenting my trip on my TikTok and all the adventures I go on, so everybody who's still stuck in this place can live vicariously through me. So if anybody wants to discover Scotland in the way a 33-year-old woman from America wants to, give me a follow and I'll document it.
You know, you could have easily got this experience just by going to Seattle and just enjoying the rain every day.
No, because they don't have the fun accents there.
Sure they do.
No, not the Scottish ones.
Well, maybe not Scottish ones, but ones that wear a lot of flannel and think that Nirvana is still the coolest band ever.
Okay, you don't need to call them out that hard. Easy now.
Yeah, that's where the birth of Starbucks and also like the worst examples of a commune come from. Good old
Is that
Seattle.
where Starbucks come from? Seattle?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, well, over in the East Coast here, up in the north, we have in addition to Starbucks, we have a thing called Tim Hortons. Yeah, it was started by a Canadian hockey player. Don't ask.
Was his name Joel?
No, his name was Tim Horton.
Oh.
So, but the funny thing is that if you're near a Tim Hortons, if you do not call it Timmy's Hose, you have done yourself a disservice.
I will not be calling it that.
Well, too bad, because you don't live near Tim Hortons, so it doesn't count.
Tim, actually, famously spelled E-I-O-N. That is
Yeah.
how you spell Tim and Tim.
Yeah, and then throw in a couple other syllables in there that are silent letters.
S-S-S-S-S-P-P-P-P-P.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah,
Anyways.
so very nice. Just wanted to give you a little update and shoot the shit. And I can't wait for the next episode of Bible Libel. It should be really funny. I think one of these times, because I know Christina was a little spicy last night. She admitted that she was partaking in the devil's lettuce. I think one Friday, you guys should just either get really, really elevated or really, really drunk and just kind of see how long you guys can hold on until you're like, we got to stop.
Interestingly enough, that is so as far as inebriated like that goes, like that's you're never going to get that out of both Matthew and myself. Christina, she is taking care of all of that for the three of us.
Well, I mean, knowing how you two interact with each other, especially from last night, I think you guys would be like the funniest fucking people drunk. You'd be like those two puppets from like Sesame Street, the two like old people puppets just criticizing
the Muppets.
everything.
Yeah. Statler and Waldorf or whatever his name is.
Yeah, just like criticizing everything, and everyone would be like, "Jesus Christ!" I can see that. New Halloween costume for you both.
Old men? Yeah, well, we're already halfway there.
No, specifically the old men Muppets. You have to dress up as the old men Muppets. Specifically.
Rainbow Supremacy actually said, is she ever not partaking on Alive? I don't know. I think that there's been at least a few stone cold sober lives there from Christina the Godless. I'm pretty sure.
I think she has the same thing that happens to me when I get elevated, is that our vocabulary and our level to insult people increases for some reason. So yeah, it's very fun to watch her when she's elevated, because she will just tear some of those Christian men down.
Oh yeah. But that's Christina the Godless. And by the way, up here we have a Lynxy Fox. It used to just be Lynx. I don't know what's going on with all the extra letters, but
it's to confuse you.
Yeah, well, I'm already confused about why you just didn't move to Seattle. But we got Lynxy Fox over here. Make sure you're following Lynxy Fox, especially if you want updates from. I think she said she's 28, a 28-year-old woman running around.
Yeah, totally.
In let's say Glasgow, Scotland, right?
Yeah,
Scotland.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be all like going all over the country, because Scotland is only the size of about North Carolina. So like when they say like, oh, it's a long ways away, they mean it's like an hour drive, and I'm just like, that's a long way for you people.
You people, you heard it here first, folks. Lynxy is racist towards Scottish people.
Yeah, weird. 'Cause I'm moving there too, and I'm actually, I guess I'm self-racist because I'm partially Scottish, but okay.
What percentage?
Self-hating Scot.
What percentage?
But technically speaking, I'd say about 40%, because like my mom's side of the family traces back to Scotland, but they immigrated for a couple generations to Ireland before officially moving over here. So they have like a generation or two of Irish people kind of thrown in there. But then the other half of my dad's family is English, which is funny because those countries don't like each other. So how did I happen?
Begrudgingly.
It's just kind of.
I am actually 25% Scottish.
25?
Mm-hmm.
Can you do a Scottish accent?
Nope.
Can you try?
Ah.
Everyone always goes to the oh. Oh, hi. It's funny. I do like when people try to do Scottish accents, because they either kind of get it or they sound like Shrek, which is also kind of a decent Scottish accent, though. By the way.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, like most people are kind of like, oh, like he actually does a pretty decent Scottish accent. I'm like, it's weird because he's a Canadian comedian.
It's another place you could have just moved. Is Canada.
Well, Canada is cold. And Scotland is
fucking
cold too.
Scotland isn't? Okay.
Yeah, well, guess what? Because guess what? My boyfriend lives in Glasgow, and I was telling him about how, like, this past winter, how we had that, like, at least here in New York, we got like slammed 6 ways to Sunday, because I live in between two Great Lakes, which the term lake effect snow is like a curse here. So like I'm just like, oh yeah, we're like buried in like 6 feet of snow, and he goes, oh, we haven't even had snow, it's just been cold rain. And I'm like, I would take that over 6 feet of snow seeping into my wellies every single day. Rain boots. They're called wellies. Wellington rain boots. That's what they call them.
Did you get him at Timmy Hose?
No, actually, Timmy Hose is actually not that great for coffee. I think it's only like a step above Starbucks, honestly. Starbucks
All
is
right.
not
Well,
great
that
coffee.
was Lynxy Fox, everybody. Lynxy Fox. Hope you're following her. Potentially all the way to Scotland. Follow her all the way to Scotland.
Yes.
Make sure you're following.
Come look at my adventures. I will. You can live vicariously through me. I give you all permission because America is America right now. So yeah.
Right now.
Right now. It's
We're working on
countdown
it.
until
We're working on it. Anyways.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it.
That's links.
Until November.
That's links, everybody.
All right.
Pull the lever, Crunk.
She actually said it at like the same time. That was pretty funny. All right. If anybody's got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. It's a short live today. Short live. Wrong. No. She typed it. Let's see. $2 from Dionysian Masks says Nirvana is the coolest band ever. No. What? No. All right. Gray Eyes, can I get your name for TikTok purposes?
Gray.
Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Old.
And are mermaids real? Yes or no?
No.
No. And is Nirvana the coolest band ever?
They were the first CD I ever bought. So I do have a special place for them. I'm not sure if they're the coolest. They didn't last very long.
Yeah. Went out with
But they
a bang,
were
though.
very influential with what they gave. So
Yep.
I'll leave it there. But anyway, I shared a link to you through email with some Bible Libel logos, and I also sent you some DMs.
Oh, yes. I think I saw that right before I hopped on. I saw that you had sent something over, and so I'll definitely be checking that out. I think we can probably use that stuff there for the logos, but thank you very, very much for that, man.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know, help out the stuff, because I noticed you only had the little text that said Bible Libel last night, and I was like, oh, that has to be fixed. So.
Well, yeah, I was going for like that kind of like DIY kind of vibe there, because I mean, if I put too terribly much stuff, once you get all of us on the screen anyways, it ends up being really small. But I could probably scale what you sent over pretty easily.
Yeah,
so
the prototype run anyway. So
Washman says, I got my first 12 CDs at one time. Thanks, Columbia House. The 12 CDs for a penny or whatever, or 12 tape or whatever it was.
Yeah, I partook in those too. What's funny is when I was 12, I had received this free magazine in the mail, and it had like a science experiment that came with it. And then I got like 3 extra ones, and then they sent me a bill for like $70. And then they threatened to put me in collections, and I called them up and I said, yeah, I'm 12. And they're like, oh, okay. And they just canceled everything.
Man.
So I got 3 of those science catalogs with pretty cool experiments included.
Did you do the experiments?
Oh yeah, totally. They're pretty neat. Like one of them had like it was like a circuit board thing where you could light up an LED, and then there was I don't remember what the other ones were. It was so long ago, but
this is pretty cool. Missy Blues with the red hair says, I think I still owe them. Let's see. As far as Shola Gold says there on a comment, what benchmark corpus proves your chapter level, almost spelled stylometry correctly, is reliable before applying it to Paul? We show in the book that at like chapter level it runs pretty well. On top of that, if you want to read a little bit more regarding the software that we use and the methodology that we use, specifically pointed towards Paul, you can check out the scholarly work known as Counting Paul from Benjamin White, using the exact same software, and actually, to a certain extent, less forthright with a lot of how they got there. That book came out the next year. It's from Dr. Benjamin White, published by, I believe, Oxford Press. You can check that out.
I thought the results on Paul were pretty interesting when I ran them myself. Like Romans appears to be padded almost like Acts. I mean, not Acts, Luke.
Yeah.
So the first and last chapters are basically someone completely different than the bulk of it.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to take something and alter it to some degree, is to add something to the beginning, add something to the end, as opposed to trying to figure out how to work it in the middle. Because when you do that, much like the testimony of Flavianum, it just sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh yeah. The other interesting thing was reading about Against Marcion by Tertullian, and how he keeps addressing Marcion directly, but Marcion had been dead by like almost 50 years at that point.
Tertullian's crazy. He was nuts. I don't know what
you do this. It's like, well, what do you expect him to reply with? A daisy?
Yeah. I think it was possibly geared towards like the followers, I guess, like being more direct to some of the Marcionites at the time. Yeah.
And what's really funny is that he uses Acts as a defense of Paul, but Acts was written after the death of Marcion.
Oh yeah. Well, but I don't know if Tertullian knew that or not. See, much like Christians today or historicists today, they're going to be using these texts as evidence for the other texts or evidence for some of these beliefs, even though they don't know where these things come from or even when they come from, which is a problem.
And then he also claimed that Paul came from the line of Benjamin, and that's why he's foreseen as being an apostle, that he was against the movement and then turns around and starts supporting it. It's such a weird text. I mean, it's book 5, I think chapter 1, where he goes over all this, and it's pretty wild. I added it to the site, a link to it and everything, but
man.
Anyway.
And by the way, that site is mythicism.web.app, created by this guy right here. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Definitely check it out. It's got a ton of resources. Goes over the stuff I talk about here and a lot more. That is mythicism.web.app. Definitely check it out.
So much that the guy yesterday said that it was bullshit because there was just too much of it.
What?
When he came up and he's like, that website is bullshit. It's too big. It's like, really? That was his complaint? There's too much information?
Someone said that on here?
Yeah.
I don't even remember it.
Or not yesterday, sorry, Friday.
I don't even remember him saying that. That's dumb.
It was so funny. He was like complaining about the book and complaining about the site, but couldn't provide any actual critique, just that it was too big.
There's too much evidence against Jesus. He has to be real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's stupid. Anyways, yeah. The last guess on that. Yeah, that sounds about right. So if you guys don't know this, unless I talk to somebody repeatedly, I'm probably not going to remember talking to them. Like, if someone requests up and says, I've never been on here, for the most part, I'm just like, okay. Now, once they get going, if they're like, if it's clearly like a continuation of another conversation that we've had before, or if they're saying some things that I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've had this conversation before, or their voice is familiar, their profile picture is familiar, I may be able to recognize them, but for the most part, it's water off a seal's back. Like, I'm not, like, it just doesn't, register. And I have to do that to protect my sanity. Otherwise, I'm going to, have thin skin and get all upset about the fact that people are saying all this shit.
It made me think of Steve Buscemi in, which movie was it? Billy Madison? When he gets a call and he's like, oh yeah, sure, that's cool. And he crosses Billy Madison off of the list.
Like,
What was that?
I don't know. That was really weird. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, it glitched out for a second, and then I heard someone else's voice. It sounded like.
It's really weird.
Unless it was a sound effect.
Oh no, I think it was, I don't know, something weird with the microphone. But yeah, was it Mr. No, it's not Mr. Deeds. It's Billy Madison. Yeah, it's Billy Madison. Yeah, he's like putting on lipstick or whatever, and then he like.
Whoa. Testing 1 2.
Yeah, that should help.
Yeah, that's better.
That's weird. Yeah, I didn't hear a problem, but apparently it was a problem.
Yeah, it was like really loud static, and then
no idea.
Just went haywire. But anyway, that's all I had. Thanks for letting me up.
All right, and thanks for coming up, man. That is a Gray Eyes, everybody. Gray Eyes. All right. $4.99 there from Elope Nope says, what if Babel is the story of one unified nation, Yahweh deliberately fractured into ethnicities? Was God the first anti-globalist? I mean, the thing that pisses me off about the story of the Tower of Babel is that people present it as, or Christians present it, or teachers present it as the idea of humans trying to be like God. And so they build a tower that can go all the way up into heavens, and God doesn't like this because it's too tall or something like that. And so he says, oh, they're wanting to be like God or whatever, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. And that's not what it says. What it says is that they're wanting to like make a name for themselves or whatever, and so they build it up. God has a problem with the fact that everybody is able to talk and communicate, and they're able to put their minds to something. He wanted to stop that. Like, that's literally what it ends up saying in the text. And we're going to go ahead and do that right before we go here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Genesis. What is it, in 5 probably? Or no, it's after the flood, so it would be like 7. No, that's the flood itself. Where the fuck is this thing? Maybe 8? There's the flood subsiding. God damn. It's in 11. That's it. Okay. So 11. So it says, now the whole earth had one language and the same words. Oh, okay. Yeah, that means the same thing, dipshit. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon, what does this say instead? Or migrated eastward. Okay, thanks. They came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and fire them thoroughly. Who talks like that? And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we shall be scattered upon or abroad upon the face of the whole earth. In other words, they're saying, hey, let's do this. It'll be really cool, and everyone will know where we're at, and this will be where we live. Otherwise, we're all going to go away and let's stick together, guys. Let's stick together. And you'll know where you're at because you can see this giant tower and shit like that. It just says the top is in the heavens. It doesn't say anything about like we want to build it all the way up to heaven. We don't want to be God or anything like that. It's just like, hey, let's just do this because we can, and we're going to all stick together as a unit. We're all one group of people. The Lord came down to the city to see the city. I'm not sure why he has to come down. The Lord came down to the city and the tower, which mortals had built. Damn. And the Lord said, look, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they will not understand one another's speech. All right. So that's what ends up happening. That's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. They're not doing anything bad. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything evil or anything. Like, literally the worst thing you could possibly point to is maybe where it says, let us make a name for ourselves, like maybe like a pride thing. But he doesn't say anything about pride. He's just like, hey, they can do whatever they want, and that's bad. That's terrible. Like, literally, human beings coming together and saying, let's work together. And he's like, yeah, nah, that's not going to fly. I want to make it as hard as possible for you guys. Now, very clearly, this story didn't fucking happen. Of course not. It's stupid. but it serves a purpose, and that purpose is to try to explain where all the different like languages come from. It's not just a matter of like these are different cultures because of different gods, which it also explains in like Deuteronomy, but it's explicitly saying there are different languages because of one particular event. They're just trying to explain it. That's all that it is. Gene on TikTok says, "You saw what happened before, right? I'm the food." Or sorry, I'm the food? All right. Well, that should be it. That should be it. Thank you for hanging out today. I will be live earlier tomorrow, and hopefully we can get some guests who's got some good evidence for Jesus or Paul. What I say here to TikTok is thank you, and to YouTube is thank you to anybody and everybody who stuck around longer than 30 seconds. 35-second gang, rise up. To TikTok, I say peace out, Girl Scout. Put me down for some Thin Mints. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. To YouTube, I say thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you to the members as well. I am working on finishing up another member video here. Should have it uploaded here within the next, I'd say, maybe 30 minutes or so. So thank you very much for hanging out there. And if you become a member, you'll be able to not only see this video, but you'll also be able to see, depending on what level of membership you get, you'll be able to see the videos, any videos that we post, earlier than everybody else. It could be a week to about like a month out. You can see videos before everybody else there and be able to comment on them. Somebody actually commented, somebody's like, hey, why is this video, it's just some random person. They're like, why is this does this video say that it's only been like around for like 4 hours, but someone had a comment on it days ago? How is that possible? And I explained to them that membership is a thing. YouTube membership allows for me to say, hey, all of these videos, you get access to them well in advance if you're a member. So thank you very much for becoming a member there. Definitely helps out. And we are working on getting this stuff out to you as fast as possible. Thank you very much for hanging out and sending some super chats. You've been you. You've been Tube. I've just been CBJ. See you guys later.